Chapter 476. Sima Yue, Bei Gong Tang and the others were chatting in the house, talking about some things that happened in the past. They did not know that the matter of her leaving the symbol in memory restaurant had already spread to the central regions through a special channel. In a large courtyard, a maid hurriedly walked into an exquisite small courtyard and was stopped by the guards at the door. "Where's Master?" the maid asked. "I am in seclusion, trying to break through to the high-level divine emperor realm," a guard said. Before Master went into seclusion, he instructed that no one is to disturb him. So if Miss Mu has something to say, it's better to wait for Master to come out of seclusion. "Miss Mu, you've been taking care of the matters of the restaurant all these years. It's rare to see you looking for Master. Is there something important?" another guard asked. Mu Wen took out a shadow recording stone and injected spirit energy into it. The shadow recording stone emitted a burst of light, and an image appeared in the air. There was no one in the picture, only a pile of used cutlery. However, the two guards were shocked when they saw the picture. "This watermark." Qin Hong, the guard who spoke later, pointed at the watermark on the table in surprise. "That's right, it's one of the symbols that Master told us about." Another guard, Qin Ran, said. Mu Wen stopped injecting her spiritual power, and the image disappeared. "Now you know why I'm so anxious." "Miss Mu, where did this message come from?" Qin Ran asked. "Outside, in the southern prefecture's innumerable azure city." Mu Wen said. "Did that person really appear?" Qin Hong asked incredulously. "Or is this just a coincidence?" "Whether it's a coincidence or not, this is the first time in many years. Thinking about all these years, this is still hope. But if it's just a coincidence, won't you be even more disappointed?" Qin Hong felt sorry for his master. "Take a look at this news." Mu Wen took out a piece of paper and showed it to them. When the two of them saw the words on it, their eyes widened. "Sima Yue? His name is Yue too? But why is it a man?" Qin Hong shouted. "Both are called Yue. This is too much of a coincidence. As for whether or not it is true, I still need to personally confirm it when I come out." Mu Wen said, "That side has already gone to investigate their matter. I believe there will be results very soon. I also don't know why Master is so insistent. The people of Shimin clan have already been dead for so long. At that time, we also saw the corpse of Shimin Yue with our own eyes. Why is he so insistent that she is still alive? Why did you spend so much energy and money to open so many restaurants in the central and peripheral regions to inquire about her?" Qin Hong was puzzled. "Master has his own ideas, we just need to execute them." Mu Wen said, "I don't know when Master will come out, I'll just wait here." After Mu Wen finished speaking, she walked to the pavilion in the courtyard and sat down. She stared blankly at the shadow recording stone in her hand. In the past, she had followed Qin Mo, and she had also met Shimin Yue a few times. The symbol drawn by the watermark gave her a familiar feeling, and it didn't seem to be a coincidence. However, she was also certain that Shimin Yue was already dead. She had snatched the corpse from that person's hands. There was no longer any signs of life. Furthermore, she had personally seen her master bury Shimin Yue's corpse. Now, how could the news of innumerable green palaces, people being beaten up in front of Xianyuan Pavilion quickly spread throughout the entire innumerable green city? Many people were prepared to see Yue and the others get caught. However, after a few days, there was no news at all. Could it be that innumerable green palaces people were just going to let it go? Even Yue and the others were a little surprised. They thought that innumerable green palaces people would quickly come to cause trouble for them. However, they didn't expect that these few days would be so quiet. The reason for this was actually because Xia Yingying and the others had been locked up. They didn't have the time to cause trouble for Yue and the others. The reason for this was because the shopkeeper of Memory Restaurant had said to innumerable green palaces' vice palace master that their juniors were becoming more and more arrogant. After the vice palace master returned, he immediately ordered people to understand the situation during the day. After knowing what had happened, he locked up all the people involved in the incident during the day. "Vice Palace Master, what is the meaning of this? What did Yingying and the others do wrong? You actually locked them up." A big bearded man directly ran to the Vice Palace Master's palace to interrogate him. The Vice Palace Master explained everything and said, "The younger generation of Innumerable Green Palace is actually so rude and unreasonable. They use the name of Innumerable Green Palace to bully others. Locking them up is already considered a light punishment. Palace Master Xia, as a palace master, you didn't teach your daughter well. You let Yingying develop such a character. Instead of going back and properly reflecting, you actually came here to interrogate me?" After being scolded by the Vice Palace Master, Xia Zhong's expression turned ugly. However, he still didn't think that his daughter had done anything wrong. They were from Innumerable Green Palace. Those lowly commoners should have given in to their daughter. Not only did they snatch their private room, they even beat them up on the streets. They had embarrassed themselves in front of the entire city. It had to be said that the kind of father would raise the kind of daughter. Xia Zhong returned to his own palace. Chapter 477. Sima Yue and the others stayed in the inn for a few days, but no one came to find trouble with them. Gradually, they put this matter at the back of their minds and waited quietly for the day of the teleportation portal. On this day, they were drinking tea downstairs when a high-level divine ancestor and a high-level god king walked in. "Young Master Xia, why are you so free to come here today? Could it be that you want to stay in the inn?" The waiter went up and said with a smile. The man in the yellow embroidered robe raised his chin high and said, "How could I have the time to stay at your inn? I have something to do today." "Young Master Xia, what's the matter? Go, call that Sima Yue, Bei Gong Tang, Ouyang Fei and Sima Yulin over. Is there anything I can help you with?" "There's something, of course there's something," the yellow-clothed man said, "daring to hit my, Xia Qingren's, cousin. These people are tired of living. Today, I am here to help my cousin get back at her. Quickly go and call him over. If you make me wait too long, I will be even angrier." Yue and the others didn't pay much attention to the person who came in. However, they frowned when they heard what the person said. Xia Yingying's cousin? No wonder he hadn't come looking for trouble with them these past few days. It turned out that he had gone looking for help. Xia Qingren saw that Xiao Er didn't move, so he shouted with a dark face, "Why aren't you going? Do you want me to tear this place down?" The waiter pointed to a corner of the hall and said, "Young Master Xia, they are over there." Xia Qingren followed the waiter's hand and saw 4 people sitting at a square table drinking tea. He said, "The 4 of you, come over here." There was no response. "I told you to come here, did you hear me?" Xia Qingren roared. "You're crazy." Bei Gong Tang replied faintly, not even putting him in her eyes. "What do you mean? Don't you understand my words?" Ouyang Fei picked up his teacup and took a sip. "Not only is he sick, but he's also stupid. Isn't stupidity a kind of illness?" Sima Yulin said. "Exactly." Sima Yu raised her cup towards Sima Yulin. "You guys are looking down on me too much. I'm very angry, and the consequences are very serious. Not only is this person stupid, he's also very stupid." Bei Gong Tang said. Xia Qingren's cold aura was about to lower the temperature of the room, but the 4 people still didn't react. They treated him like air. "Xiada, go and kill them all for us. Originally, I only wanted to chop off one of their legs and one of their hands, leaving them alive to struggle at death's door. But now, I don't want to see them anymore." He knew that Sima Yue had a rank 3 sacred beast, but other than Xiada himself, who was a high divine overlord, he also had contracted beasts of similar strength, so it was more than enough to deal with them. Xiada was a taciturn person. He walked over and threw a spirit energy ball. However, the spirit energy ball froze in the air and dissipated. Xia Qingren and the others were shocked when they saw this scene. How could the spiritual energy ball be frozen before it even touched them? Could it be that there was an expert protecting them? But they didn't sense anyone else's aura. "It's my first time using spatial energy. I didn't think that the effect would be so good." Sima Yue said lightly. "You can use your thoughts to seal the space. You're getting more and more familiar with spatial energy." Sima Yulin said. "Aren't you about the same?" Sima Yue said. Sima Yulin's spatial energy was not bad and could seal a certain amount of space. You're an array master? Xiada looked at Sima Yue in shock. Only array masters could use spatial energy. That's right. Xiada turned his head, wanting to see his young master's attitude. Array master? Xia Qingren frowned. This was a little difficult. His uncle didn't say that the other party was an array master. Furthermore, looking at the situation, it seemed like there were two array masters. However, when he thought about how his cousin was being confined, he threw away his worries and huffed. So what if you're an array master? It's not like I've never seen an array master before. Do you think I'll be scared? Xiada, continue. Xiada nodded and called out his own spirit beast. It was a third-ranked sacred beast. An array master's battle power was very strong. Even if he was a whole rank higher, he still didn't dare to let his guard down. Sima Yue also called out Chongming. With his strength, it was no problem for him to deal with these two people, who asked him to be an idle spirit beast. In this aspect, he was comparable to an array master. Chongming, throw them all out. Sima Yue ordered, young Master Xia, right? If you still want your little life, it's best that you don't appear in front of me again. Otherwise, my spirit beast might accidentally kill you. That would be bad. Sister, I want to come out. Little Dream suddenly said. Sima Yue didn't know what Little Dream wanted to do, but she rarely came out after coming to the continent. Now that she wanted to come out, she would satisfy her. A cute little child dressed in black appeared in front of everyone. Looking at her, they thought that she was a human child. However, once they felt her aura, they knew that she was a spirit beast. After Little Dream came out, she didn't do anything. She only glared at Xia Qingren and Xiada when they looked at her. Then she smiled and said, Master? Sima Yue knew what Little Dream had just done. She smiled and patted her head. Chongming's movements were very nimble. He first sealed the space, then kicked them out. In order to save time, he directly kicked the two of them and the spirit beast 2 streets away. Those who were watching the show saw that he was so powerful and looked at Sima Yue in a new light. Sima Yue supported her chin with one hand and looked at Chongming. She smiled and said, Chongming, you're getting more and more powerful. I've always been like this. Chongming was too lazy to go back after coming out, so he sat beside Sima Yulin. Little Dream, what did you do just now? Bei Gongtang asked curiously. I didn't do much. I just made them have nightmares when they go back. Little Dream said obediently. Little brat, who taught you that? Sima Yue scratched her nose. Big Brother Fatty and the others. They said that those people were so annoying, but you can't kill them now. That's why they asked me to make them suffer. Little Dream said seriously. Little Dream can protect Master too. Little Dream is so obedient. Sima Yue said with a smile. She believed that Xia Qingren and Xia Tian would definitely live well in the future. Waiter, come over. Ouyang Fei waved at the waiter. The waiter walked over to them, trembling. These people had just sent a divine overlord flying with a kick. What cruel people. Dear guests, what's the matter? What's Xia Qingren's background? What's his relationship with Xia Yingying? Ouyang Fei asked. The Xia clan is one of the bigger clans in innumerable Green City. Because Xia Zhong, who is Xia Yingying's father, is a branch palace master, the Xia clan has always been rude and unreasonable in innumerable Green City. Xia Zhong and Xia Qingren's father are blood brothers. Sima Yue rubbed her chin. Blood brothers? At this time, a familiar voice came from the door. Yue? So it's you guys. Those who grew up in the innumerable Green Palace are indeed prideful. However, that's only a minority. Most of the younger generations still grow up well. Lianze said. Sima Yue shrugged and did not comment. Anyway, it had nothing to do with them and they did not need to argue about it. As for the people in the inn, they felt like they were in a fantasy. Lianze was the palace master, so who in the innumerable Green Palace did not know him? However, based on their conversation just now, Lianze had always been defending the innumerable Green Palace. It was as if he did not want the other party to hate his sect. This made everyone even more curious about his identity. When they thought about her contracted beasts, they realized that she had 3 sacred beasts. Even Xia Yingying and the others did not have the right to have them, let alone the power to have them. Big Brother Cho, is the auction that you mentioned very big? Even your master and the others want to go. Will the people from the other regions go as well? Sima Yue asked. I heard that it has been many years since it was this big. The items being auctioned are all very high-ranked. For example, spirit tools. The lowest-ranked ones are divine-ranked. Furthermore, there are many different types and many rare items. Lian Zhe said, there should be people from all the continents who want to go. Our innumerable Green Palace received an invitation. Those without an invitation can't go. Why is the auction not held in the central regions but in the outer regions? Sima Yue did not understand. I heard that it's to train the younger generation. This time, the younger generation is fully in charge. It seems to be related to the future leader of the Xian Yuan Pavilion. Lian Zhe said, it said that the younger generation are all managing the affairs in the outer regions. Yu, are you guys going to participate in the auction? Cho Xiaotian asked. Not necessarily. We'll see if there's enough time. Sima Yue said. An auction that could invite people from all the continents would definitely attract people. However, they had to go there to save people first. As for what would happen, she was not sure. If there was enough time, going to take a look wasn't a bad idea. If the situation is more complicated, we can go to the auction first before going back. Bei Gongtang said, anyway, we've waited for so many years. We don't have to rush these 2 months. She could see that Yu was interested in the auction. She did not want her to be unable to go because of her own matters. Let's go take a look at the situation before making a decision. Sima Yue said. What are you guys talking about? Cho Xiaotian did not understand. You wouldn't know even if I told you. Sima Yue gave him a, you don't understand look. Then, she said to Lian Zhe, if we want to leave now, can you help us? Of course. Lian Zhe said with a smile, we can go now. I'll go pay the bill. Ouyang Fei stood up and went to the counter to calculate the accommodation fees for these few days. The shopkeeper quickly calculated the bill for them and said, you guys are staying in the 4 rooms in the sky room. Each room costs 15 middle-ranked crystals a day. You've stayed for 9 days, so it's a total of 540 middle-ranked crystals. Ouyang Fei took out 540 middle-ranked crystals without batting an eyelid. They had brought their things with them, so there was nothing in the room. The few of them directly left the inn and went to the place where the teleportation array was. The teleportation array was in the city. It was not particularly far from where they were staying. The few of them walked for half an hour before they arrived. Palace Master Lian. Are you here to inspect? A manager saw Lian Zhe and quickly ran over. This teleportation array was directly managed by the innumerable Green Palace, so it did not belong to the City Lord's palace. Lian Zhe said, I brought a few friends over. They're going to the central region. Palace Master Lian, there's no other way. The manager said, this teleportation array was broken this morning. We're looking for Grandmaster Hao to fix it. Broken? What did Grandmaster Hao say? Grandmaster Hao said that it would take at least 3 days to fix it. The manager replied. Lian Zhe turned to Sima Yue and said, Grandmaster Hao is an array master. If he said it would take 3 days, then it should be fine. Since you've already checked out, why don't you stay in the innumerable Green Palace for 2 days? Little Meng held Sima Yue's hand and gently squeezed it. Sima Yue lowered her head to look at her and nodded, that's good too. Then we'll have to trouble Palace Master Lian. Yue, you're an array master too. Don't you want to check on the teleportation array? Cho Xiaotian asked. I won't mess it up this time. Xia Zhong smiled flatteringly. I'll make the arrangements now. Go quickly. If you can't do it well, don't come back. Madam, just wait for my good news. Xia Zhong said as he went out. No one in the room noticed that there were 2 bees on the beam. On the other side, Sima Yue and the other 3 were touring the innumerable Green Palace under Lian Zhe's lead. After receiving the Scarlet Queen Bee's report, she smiled faintly. Palace Master Lien, your innumerable green palace is so big. There must be some restricted areas, right? There are. We have a large restricted area here. The first 3 restricted areas are forbidden from entering without permission. The last 2 restricted areas are for those who are weak to enter vertically and come out horizontally. Lianze said, Then can you bring us outside the restricted areas to take a look? Sima Yue said with a smile. It wouldn't be good if we accidentally enter the restricted areas. Lianze thought about it and nodded. We can walk outside the restricted areas. After saying that, he led them to change their original route and walked directly towards the restricted areas of the innumerable green palace. The first restricted area was a canyon. They stood on top of the canyon. Lianze pointed down and said, This is our cliff of remorse. Those who have made mistakes are all imprisoned here. Here. Although this canyon doesn't look very long, it's a bottomless abyss. It's extremely cold. Those imprisoned here can only use strength below the divine rank. If they want to expel the cold, their spiritual energy is far from enough. This can be considered a form of punishment. Lianze said, Although it's called a punishment, it's actually a form of training. Sima Yue said, In this kind of environment, if they used it well, they could gain many benefits. A white-robed old man who was meditating on a huge rock on the opposite side of the cliff heard her words. His tightly shut eyes moved slightly and he opened them to look at her. Lianze wanted to say something but was stopped by the old man's gaze. Why do you think this is a form of training? The old man opened his mouth and asked. They had seen this old man when they arrived. However, Sima Yue didn't ask for his identity. Since he was meditating here, he should be a guard or something. The temperature here is very low and those imprisoned here can only use strength below the divine rank. If they want to resist the cold, they can only continuously use their spiritual energy and maximize it. This will help them control their own strength. She replied. Moreover, I think that if they want to resist the cold, their spiritual energy will need to be constantly aware of their own situation. If they keep doing this, it will also improve their spiritual energy. The old man stroked his long white beard and nodded. Your understanding is not bad. This place does have such an effect. It's a pity that those who make mistakes only see this place as a punishment and not a form of training. Sima Yue smiled at the old man and then said to Lianze, Let's go to the other forbidden areas to take a look. Lianze glanced at the old man. Seeing that he didn't say anything, he nodded. Then let's go to the second forbidden area. The second forbidden area was a courtyard. A tall wall blocked the view of the inside. Lianze didn't say what was inside, but it must be a special courtyard used by the innumerable green palace. After that, they went to the third forbidden area. They didn't expect it to be a valley. There's nothing special about the third forbidden area. Why is it considered a forbidden area? Sima Yue asked. There are actually some spirit beasts reared by the sect. Or maybe they met some ferocious beasts and couldn't bear to kill them, so they kept them here. Lianze said. Sima Yue looked at the ordinary valley entrance. There's a barrier here? Yes. Sima Yue took 2 steps forward and a barrier appeared, blocking her outside. Then who can enter this place? She pretended to ask casually. All the palace masters can enter. Our palace masters have a token that represents their identity. With this, they can enter and exit freely. Lianze said as he took out a golden token. On one side of it was a palace and on the other side were the words Soaring Cloud Palace. No pop-up window. Our address. We provide handwritten versions of the latest chapters of our works. We can download them in TXT ebook format for free. Chapter 480. Sima Yue looked at the token and asked, Can I try? Once you go in, you'll have to come out immediately. The ferocious beasts inside are still very powerful. Lianze did not object. All right, Sima Yue took the token and continued walking forward. The enchantment did not stop her anymore. She took 2 steps and came back out again. She returned the token to him and said, This thing is really rare. This was personally made by the hall master. He said that it's connected to many of the barriers in the innumerable Green Palace. Lien Zhe kept the token. Let's continue to the next 2 places. All right. Lien Zhe didn't bring them closer to the last 2 places. He only glanced at them from afar before leaving. It seemed like these 2 places had secrets that couldn't be spoken of. However, which great sect didn't have a few secret places? The innumerable Green Palace was considered one of the few. After watching for so long, I'm tired of walking. It's getting late. Let's return to the Soaring Cloud Palace. Lien Zhe said. All right. After they returned, Sima Yue and the rest stayed in the guest room while Lien Zhe was called away. Yue, why do you want to see those forbidden areas? Bei Gongtang and the others would not question her words or actions outside, but when there were no outsiders around, they would still ask. This was because they knew that Yue would not do such things for no reason. Didn't we release a few scarlet bees when we arrived in the afternoon? Sima Yue said. I think I saw you move. Sima Yulin said. What news did you hear? I told them to look for Xia Zhong and the others. I happened to hear that he and his wife were planning to bring us to the Forbidden Grounds and have the innumerable Green Palace punish us. Of course, if we can die in there, it will be even better. Sima Yue said. This Xia Zhong, it looks like he didn't get any benefits from the Xia clan. I didn't think that he still hasn't given up. Bei Gongtang said. With such parents, it's no wonder she raised such a daughter. Ouyang Fei said, looks like we have to teach them a lesson. Otherwise, we won't be able to vent our anger. Little Meng will let them enjoy themselves tonight. Sima Yue said. Little Dream, you have to punish them properly. Bei Gongtang patted Little Dream's head, saying, because of our strength, we can't directly exterminate them. We also can't provoke too much trouble, so we can't openly take care of those 2 old fellows. Right now, we're counting on you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Little Dream nodded seriously. When she was in the Spirit Pagoda, she was furious at Xia Ying and the others for bullying her. She couldn't wait to come out and beat them up. Wei Ziqi and Sima Yu analyzed Yue's current situation for her and told her not to cause trouble for Sima Yu. After that, they taught her how to take revenge for Yue without anyone knowing. She was a rather special type of magical beast. She could attack people mentally, causing them to fall into nightmares, or create an environment to cause them to fall into hallucinations. This kind of attack didn't reveal anything. The average person had never come into contact with it before. They didn't even know about the existence of nightmare beasts, so it was very difficult for people to notice it. You still have to be careful. Sima Yu said, the innumerable Green Palace is such a big sect. There will definitely be powerful people. It'll be troublesome if they find out. I understand. Little Dream said, however, those people aren't that strong right now. According to my inherited memories, as long as the other party hasn't broken through to the monarch rank, there won't be any problems. Above the spirit rank was the divine rank. Above the divine rank was the monarch rank, and after the monarch rank was the emperor rank. Furthermore, no one had seen anyone with emperor rank in the entire continent, so this move of hers wouldn't be discovered by anyone. Sima Yu heard what she said and nodded, saying, since that's the case, then you have to be more ruthless. Little Dream smiled and replied. She would do it even if her master didn't say it. All right, everyone should return to the house. Sima Yu said, they won't act until tomorrow. At the same time, Lien Zhe went to the main hall. Greetings to the palace master and vice palace master. Lien Zhe bowed to the elder on the main seat. White-robed and white-bearded, it was the elder he saw in the first forbidden area. Lien Zhe, who are those people today? Palace Master Qing Yuan asked. Those are people I met when I was in the Lien clan. Lien Zhe told Qing Yuan about Sima Yu and the others. The contracted master of the King of the Rocks. I didn't expect her background to be so big. Qing Yuan said, they were the ones who had a conflict with Xia Ying and the others? Yes. Lien Zhe replied. At first, I was wondering if we could let her join our innumerable Green Palace, but it seems like that won't be possible. Qing Yuan said, regarding Xia Ying's matter, Memory Restaurant's attitude is also a little unhappy. When we return, we'll have to send someone to apologize properly. Palace Master, forgive me for speaking bluntly, but the younger generation nowadays is indeed a little too arrogant. They use the innumerable green palace's name to bully others outside, and there are already many people who are unhappy with us. Regarding Xia Yingying's matter, it's a good thing that Yu Yue and the others have good temperaments. If they met someone who wasn't easy to talk to, they would have directly brought the four-winged rocks to seek justice. Even if it wouldn't be as serious as exterminating the sect, the price they would have to pay would still be disastrous. The younger generation nowadays is indeed a little bad. When I was meditating in the first forbidden area, I heard them cursing below. They weren't thinking about what they did wrong, but how to seek revenge after they came out. The hatred in their hearts is what keeps them going. Qing Yuan said, in this aspect, they can't compare to Sima Yu's awareness. These few years, our sect has been developing rapidly, and many people have forgotten to be vigilant in times of peace. This isn't a good sign. The Vice Palace Master also frowned and said, the innumerable Green Palace will have to be handed over to the younger generation in the future. If they don't develop well, I'm afraid our innumerable Green Palace will be in trouble in the future. We will definitely go downhill. It's time to change the atmosphere in the palace. Qing Yuan said, I'll leave this matter to the two of you. Yes, Palace Master. The two of them replied in unison. Since we've received an invitation to the auction next month, let's go and take a look. We have to give face to the Xian Yuan Pavilion. Qing Yuan said. Then who should we send? The Vice Palace Master asked. I'll go personally. It'll be enough to bring a few other people. Qing Yuan said, why don't Lian Zhe ignore the matter of cleaning up the atmosphere for now and choose someone else to do it? Lian Zhe, you'll come with me to the auction. Yes, Palace Master. I feel that we can bring the younger generation with us to broaden their horizons. The Vice Palace Master said, they're the pillars of the innumerable Green Palace. It'll be good for them to broaden their horizons. On the morning of the second day, a servant girl came to Sima Yu's courtyard. When the servant girl came, she bowed to Sima Yu and the others, saying, esteemed guests, the Palace Master invites you in. Sima Yu raised an eyebrow and exchanged glances with Bei Gong Tang and the others. Since the Palace Master has invited us, let's go and pay our respects. Chapter 481. Crazy Wife, the fifth miss of the Divine Doctor. Sima Yue and the other four followed the servant girl and left the house, heading towards the third forbidden area. If it were not for the fact that Lian Zhe had brought them here before, they wouldn't even know that they were in front of the third forbidden area. Your Palace Master lives in such a secluded place? Sima Yue saw that they were already in front of the third forbidden area and asked intentionally. The servant girl didn't look flustered at all and said, our Palace Master likes peace and quiet, so he lives far away. Oh, it's in the valley in front. There aren't any buildings here. Does your Palace Master live in a cave? Ouyang Fei said. The servant girl replied. Are we going the wrong way? Sima Yue stood still. How could it be? The servant girl's eyes flashed with panic as she forced a smile, saying, the Palace Master is in front. Let's go quickly. Otherwise, if we drag it out for too long, the Palace Master will be unhappy. That's true. You're a servant girl of the innumerable Green Palace, so you definitely know the way. Let's continue. Sima Yue said. The servant girl saw that Sima Yue had said this and her expression relaxed, saying, okay, let's go. When they arrived at the barrier in front of the forbidden area, the servant girl took out a token. What is this? The Palace Master likes peace and quiet. In order to prevent outsiders from disturbing him, he set up a barrier here. If you want to enter, you have to use this to open the barrier. The servant girl explained. So that's how it is. Sima Yue and the others didn't expose her and followed her in. After entering the barrier, they walked a few tens of meters before the servant girl stopped and said, the area in front is where the Palace Master lives. We don't have the right to enter. Esteemed guests, please enter on your own. After speaking, she turned around to leave. However, when she turned around, she saw Sima Yulin and Ouyang Fei standing behind her, looking at her meaningfully. Are you Wu Qiaoqiao's personal servant girl? Sima Yue asked with a smile. The maidservant was shocked. They actually knew her identity. Wu Qiaoqiao was afraid that Xia Zhong's men would not be able to handle this matter well, so she changed the person at the last minute this morning. She asked you to bring us to the third forbidden area. Sima Yue said. Seeing the shock on the servant girl's face, she smiled happily. What are you talking about? The palace master is still waiting for you inside. You'd better go in quickly. The maid tried her best to keep her expression normal, but unfortunately, her gaze still revealed her current emotions. All right, we're already here. What are you trying to hide? Sima Yue said, do you think we don't know that this is the third forbidden area? We came here yesterday. The maidservant looked at Sima Yue in shock. Since they knew about this place, why did they still follow him? Are you wondering why you're here? You'll know in a while. She smiled mysteriously. A few minutes later, Sima Yue stood outside the spirit barrier while the others stayed inside. Furthermore, she did not look like her original self. She had fused with thousand resonance and changed her appearance. She looked exactly the same as the maidservant. Half an hour later, Xia Zhong came here. Greetings to the palace master. The maidservant bowed to Xia Zhong. Xia Zhong saw that there was only the maidservant here. The others were all inside the spirit barrier. There were obvious signs of a fight inside the spirit barrier. There was someone lying down in the distance. Bei Gongtang was squatting beside that person with her back facing him. Xia Zhong guessed that someone was injured and was being taken care of. Ouyang Fei and Sima Yulin looked at them angrily and asked, Who are you? Why do you want to harm us? Puma, I am Xia Yingying's father, the palace master of the Red River Palace. Xia Zhong said, My daughter was punished by being confined for a year because of you. As her father, I naturally have to seek justice for her. Xia Yingying's father? Sima Yulin snorted coldly. With someone like you who can't tell right from wrong, it's not surprising that you would raise someone like that. It was clearly Xia Yingying and the others who were in the wrong first and wanted to capture us. We were merely teaching her a lesson, but even her parents were called over. You really dote on your daughter? Ouyang Fei mocked. She's my daughter. I naturally have to dote on her. Xia Zhong said. What do you want to do? Kill us? Ouyang Fei asked. What do I want to do? Actually, I don't want to do much. Xia Zhong said, This is our third forbidden area. There are many ferocious beasts inside. If you can stay here for 2 days and not die, then I will spare your lives and release you as a punishment for trespassing into the forbidden area. The palace master will definitely spare your lives since you are guests. But if you die here, it's your own fate. There are so many fierce beasts in the third forbidden area. You let us stay here for 2 days and even plotted against us, making us trespassers. As the palace master, is this how you treat your guests? Aren't you afraid that the innumerable green palace will punish you if they find out? Just don't let them know. Xia Zhong said disapprovingly. If we can survive, we will definitely tell the truth in front of the palace master. Sima Yulin said coldly. Hadesh, Xia Zhong laughed loudly, saying, Do you think anyone will believe you? I am the palace master of the innumerable green palace, and you are just guests. Will they believe me or will they believe you? Soaring Cloud Palace. Lien Zhe and the palace master discussed for an entire night before returning. He thought that Sima Yu and the others might have woken up, so he came over to take a look. He met Chou Xiaotian on the way, and the two of them went to the courtyard together. No one. Where did they go so early in the morning? Lien Zhe called the servants over, but the servants said that they didn't know where they went. Buzz buzz buzz. 2 bees flew in front of Lien Zhe and Chou Xiaotian. These are Yu's bees. Chou Xiaotian recognized them at a glance. Buzz buzz buzz. The 2 scarlet bees spun a few times in front of the 2 of them, then flew out of the courtyard. They've flown away. Oh, they're flying back? They want us to follow them. Chou Xiaotian understood what the scarlet bees meant, and brought Lien Zhe along to follow them. The scarlet bees brought them all the way to the third forbidden area. From afar, they saw Xia Zhong, Wei Ziqi and the others facing each other. Oh no, they've entered the forbidden area. Lian Zhe saw where they were and cried out as he flew over. Xia Zhong, what do you want to do? Xia Zhong didn't think that Lian Zhe would come so quickly. Those beasts hadn't come out yet. However, since he had come, they couldn't wait for another 2 days. They could only punish them for trespassing. You came just in time. I caught 4 people trespassing in the 3rd forbidden area. I heard that they are your guests. What do you think we should do about this? Chapter 482. A moment later, a blue firework bloomed in the sky above the 3rd forbidden area. When the people of the innumerable green palace saw the firework, they all went to report to their palace masters. Colorful fireworks are rising above the 3rd forbidden area? Although the various palace masters had doubts in their hearts, as long as they were not in seclusion, they all rushed towards the 3rd forbidden land. The blue fireworks were the signal to summon all the palace masters. The palace masters rushed to the 3rd forbidden area and saw that the vice palace master had already arrived, together with Lian Zhe and Xia Zhong. Opposite them, a few strangers were in the 3rd forbidden area. All the palace masters were enraged and scolded, "Who dares to trespass into the forbidden area?" "All right, all the hall masters who can make it have arrived," Lian Zhe said. "Lianze, what's going on?" The vice palace master asked. "What are you doing here?" Replying to vice palace master, Xia Zhong wanted to frame Yue and the others. He got people to bring them into the forbidden grounds and wanted to let the vicious beasts kill them. If they were lucky enough to survive, he would also let the innumerable green palace punish them for trespassing into the forbidden grounds. Lianze said. The vice palace master looked at Xia Zhong and said, "Is that so?" "Vice palace master, this morning, I had Xiao Qiao's servant girl take my command tablet to do something, but she had yet to return, so I followed the aura of the command tablet to find this place. I didn't expect to see them holding my maidservant hostage the moment I arrived. They had already entered the forbidden area." Xia Zhong argued. This was the excuse that Wu Qiao had given him a long time ago to deal with this kind of situation. The deputy palace master looked at Sima Yue and the others. Was one of them the contracted master of the King of Rocks? "What do you think?" he asked, looking at them. Of course they would say the same thing as Palace Master Lian. They are on the same side after all. Xia Zhong said. Some of the later hall masters agreed with Lian Zhe while some believed in Xia Zhong. Their attitudes towards Sima Yue were completely different. "Vice Palace Master, before I answer your question, let me ask you something. If the truth is as Palace Master Lian said, what will Palace Master Xia do? If what Palace Master Xia said is true, what will happen to us?" Sima Yue asked. Half an hour ago, Lian Zhe found this place. Then, when Xia Zhong was not paying attention, she entered the forbidden area and restored her appearance. Bei Gongtang also stood up and walked back. Only then did Xia Zhong realize that the person on the ground was Wu Qiao's servant girl. After that, she requested for Lian Zhe to gather everyone from the innumerable green palace. After that, she didn't speak again. The vice palace master said without hesitation, "If what Palace Master Lian said is true, then Palace Master Xia framed a guest and is no longer suitable to be a palace master. If what Palace Master Xia has said is true, you will be punished by the innumerable green palace. The specific punishment will have to be discussed." Sima Yue nodded and said, "Since everyone is here, I'm sure the innumerable green palace will not be biased. Beigong, you do it." Bei Gongtang took out a sound stone and inserted her spiritual power into it. Everything that Xia Zhong had just said to them was clearly recorded. The vice palace master's face turned darker and darker while Xia Zhong's face turned paler and paler. "Vice palace master, I think that in front of the evidence, we don't need to say anything more, right?" Sima Yue said, "Little Rock, tell me. Do you think we should make a big deal out of this?" Little Rock appeared in front of everyone. Although nobody had seen the golden-winged rock before, they had all heard of it. She is the golden-winged rock's contracted master? The bird clan's internal strife has already ended. All the bird clans are under the golden-winged rock's rule. If they launch an attack on us, wouldn't we be in danger? How did Xia Zhong provoke such a person? Little Rock transformed into his human form and stood beside Sima Yue, coldly looking at the people from the innumerable green palace. You dare to touch this king's contracted master. The innumerable green palace is really something. If you don't give us a satisfactory explanation today, this king doesn't mind breaking the agreement between the human clan and the beast clan and having all the bird clans come out in full force. Otherwise, everyone will think that this king's contracted master is easy to bully. Little Rock spoke very seriously. He wasn't just putting on an act. Although he knew that Sima Yue didn't want to borrow the strength of the bird clan, he didn't want her to suffer any grievances. An old man with a white beard flew over and landed in front of everyone. It was Qing Yuan. Greetings to the palace master. Everyone bowed towards Qing Yuan. Xia Zhong framed an esteemed guest and disregarded a life because of a small matter. His character has already changed and he is no longer suitable to be the palace master of the Red River Palace. Qing Yuan said, "Today, he will be stripped of his position as palace master and thrown into jail. He will be punished another day." The palace masters didn't think that he would really be dismissed just like that. They were all stunned. Qing Yuan looked at Sima Yue and asked, "Are you satisfied with this?" Sima Yue didn't think that this kind-looking old man would be the palace master of the innumerable green palace. She raised her eyebrows and said, "How Xia Zhong is treated is your innumerable green palace's internal affairs. However, to me, I came to your innumerable green palace as a guest and almost lost my life. We will make it up to you." Qing Yuan's beard trembled. "Since that's the case, then take out your compensation first. If Little Rock isn't satisfied, then I can't do anything about it." Sima Yue spread out her hands, as if it had nothing to do with her. "Naturally, you will be satisfied with the compensation." Qing Yuan said, "However, if you continue to stay here, the ferocious beasts inside will come out and you will be in danger." Sima Yue thought about it. After all, this was other people's territory. If they went overboard, they might lose more than they gained. After all, the innumerable green palace was a great sect. If they really fought, they might not be able to come out unscathed. "All right then, I'll believe you this time." After speaking, she took Xia Zhong's token and led everyone out. "Then let's go to the main hall and discuss the compensation," Qing Yuan said. Sima Yue smiled and said, "Palace Master Lien and I can be considered friends. How can I really ask you to compensate us? We also suffered quite a bit of shock today. If there's nothing else, we want to go back and rest." Qing Yuan's beard trembled again. This guy was actually using this trick again. He was retreating in order to advance. Although he said that there was no need to discuss it, they did not dare to be negligent. They had to give more compensation. If they were not satisfied with it, wouldn't they find trouble with the innumerable green palace? Little Fox. Not long after Sima Yue and the others returned to the Soaring Cloud Palace, the Vice Palace Master personally came over with the compensation. He said a bunch of good words and then gave her an interspatial ring. Sima Yue did not look at the things inside. She waited until the Vice Palace Master left before she sent a strand of divine sense into it. When she saw the things inside, she smiled satisfactorily and then gave the interspatial ring to Bei Gong Tang and the others. When they saw the things inside, they smiled as well. On the second day, Lien Zhe came over and said that the teleportation array was ready. Sima Yue and the others decided to leave immediately. Chou Xiaotian said that he wanted to go with them, but was rejected by Yue. If they went there, they would definitely call the others out. If they saw Fatty Chu and the others, the matter of the spirit pagoda would be exposed. Thus, under Chou Xiaotian's resentful gaze, they stepped onto the teleportation array to the central region. Chapter 483. Autumn Moon City was a city in the central region that wasn't particularly large, but its status in the central region wasn't low. This was because there were two alchemy clans here, one in the south and one in the north. The two clans had produced many geniuses, and their relationship had been very good in the past. However, in recent years, their relationship had taken a turn for the worse, and there was a tendency for them to fight to the death. The family in the south of the city was surnamed Baigong, while the family in the north of the city was surnamed Een. In terms of strength, the Een clan was higher than the Baigong clan because they had a secret technique that could raise the grade of pills. When it came to pills of the same grade, the Een clan's effect was slightly better than the Baigong clan's. The current head of the Baigong clan was called Baigong Xiong. He could be considered Baigong Tang's great-grandfather, and her father, Baigong Ao's grandfather. The Baigong clan had always been very interested in the Een clan's secret technique, but the Een clan kept it a secret and never spread it out. Even if they watched them refine pills, they couldn't tell what was different. Thus, for more than 20 years, they schemed to make Baigong Tang's mother, Een Lan, fall in love with Baigong Ao. She disregarded her family's objections and married him. Within a few years, she gave birth to Baigong Tang and her younger brother, Baigong Hang. But even so, Een Lan didn't reveal the Een clan's secret technique. Baigong Ao originally did not like Een Lan, but he liked Gu Yun, the daughter of the Earth Palace's palace master. The two of them were in love with each other and had reached the point of marriage. However, because Een Lan's status in the Een family wasn't low, he couldn't have other women before marrying her, so he never married Gu Yun. After a few years, Baigong Ao's patience ran out. After an argument, he turned around and married Gu Xa. At the end of the year, they had a daughter, Baigong Heir. The Earth Palace was the largest sect in Autumn Moon City, and Gu Yun was the daughter of the palace master. Naturally, her status in the Baigong clan was different. In addition, Baigong Yi's talent in alchemy was not bad, so the Baigong clan treated her like a treasure. Gu Yun was originally very unhappy about Baigong Ao marrying Een Lan, so she squeezed out her position as the main wife and even abused the three of them. Towards this, the members of the Baigong clan all turned a blind eye. Because they were unable to obtain the Een clan's secret technique, the difference in status between Een Lan and Gu Yun was like the difference between heaven and earth. On the other hand, Een Lan did not receive the support of her family when she married into the Baigong family. Therefore, even if she was wronged by the Baigong family, she would not complain to the family. Who would have thought that Gu Yun's mistreatment of them would escalate to house arrest? It was also to prevent them from notifying the Een family and causing trouble for the Baigong family. This Een family was also a big clan. If they really caused trouble, it wouldn't be easy to settle it. Afterwards, Baigong Tang escaped with the help of her uncle. Afterwards, she escaped to the Yi-Lin continent with the help of Meng Ji. Meng Ji also fell into a deep sleep. Speaking of her own uncle, Baigong Tang's tone was the most gentle. He was the only one who treated her and her mother well. Meng Ji was secretly given to her by him. However, when she thought about how he had gotten injured in order to help her escape, she wondered how he was doing now. In an inn in Autumn Moon City, everyone came out. After hearing Baigong Tang's story, everyone felt sorry for her. In the past, I lived in the backyard of the Baigong family. We were guarded day and night, so my knowledge of the outside world was limited to Baigong Ao and the others. At that time, I didn't even go to the front yard of the Baigong family. Furthermore, because others were at least spirit overlords when they were born, and I was only a spirit knight, I was always treated like trash. You were just born at a lower level than others, but your talent is really good. I dare to believe that you are definitely more powerful than that Baigong heir. Fatty Chu said. All this time, Baigong Tang didn't talk much about her past. Although they knew that she had escaped, they didn't know that she had lived such a miserable life. You've already left for more than 10 years. We don't know what the situation is like here either. You should stay here. We'll go out and gather some information. We'll tell you when we come back. Wei Ziqi said. Baigong, have you thought of looking for the Een family? Sima Yu asked. Baigong Tang shook her head, saying, the Een family and the Baigong family are in the same city. Even if the Baigong family intentionally hid information about us, the Een family would be able to find out as long as they wanted to. However, they didn't. This means that they no longer treat us as family. At that time, Mother didn't ask the Een family for help, so I naturally wouldn't acknowledge them. What if they were like the Lien family back then, and the news was intercepted? Sima Yulu asked. Baigong Tang was stunned. She had never thought of this possibility. In her mind, she hated the Yin family. She had never thought of this possibility. Lian Hong's situation is different from mine. His father was chased out of the family and he lived far away. However, the Yin family and Bei Gong family are in the same city. As long as they have the heart, how could this happen? Everyone thought about it. What she said made sense, so they didn't say anything else. Sang Muyu stepped forward and hugged Bei Gong Tang, saying, "You're a good child. Your mother and younger brother are definitely alive, waiting for you to come back and save them. Auntie, I'll have to trouble you to stay here and accompany Bei Gong. We'll split up and gather some information about the Bei Gong family." Sima Yu said, "Little two, stay here and accompany Bei Gong." "Okay, go ahead." Sang Muyu said. Little two nodded seriously, saying, "Big brother, don't worry. I will protect big sister Bei Gong." "Okay, then let's go out," Sima Yu said to everyone. After leaving the inn, everyone split up and went to different places to inquire for information. Because the Bei Gong family, the Yin family, and the Earth Palace were the three leaders here, their affairs had always been talked about enthusiastically. It was not difficult to get information about them. Of course, some information would be treated as forbidden areas. Everyone would keep such information a secret. Yin Lan and Bei Gong Tang belonged to this category. Many people stopped talking when they heard Yin Lan and the others' names. After going out for a round, everyone didn't get any substantial information. Sima Yu released a few hundred scarlet bees and let them disguise themselves as normal bees. They went to different places to gather information. Most of them went to the three big powers. At night, Sima Yu was talking to Bei Gong Tang. Suddenly, her body trembled. Her eyes flashed with disbelief. After a moment of silence, she looked at Bei Gong Tang sadly. "Did something happen to my mother and the others?" Bei Gong Tang looked at Sima Yu's expression and her heart sank. Sima Yu didn't know how to say it. It was as if she didn't even have the courage to speak at this moment. "You just say it. I can take it." Although Bei Gong Tang said this, the hand holding the cup was trembling. "Bei Gong, your uncle died after saving you that year. Your mother and brother also died a few years ago." Bei Gong Tang's face was ashen. She didn't even feel the tea in the cup that she had just poured into her wound. Sima Yu looked at Bei Gong Tang's expression and said anxiously, "Bei Gong, this is only the information that we got from the Yin family. Maybe this is information that the Bei Gong family deliberately released." Chapter 484. Bei Gong Tang grabbed onto Sima Yu's hand as tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. "Is what you said true? My mother and the others are still alive?" Sima Yu looked at her and didn't know how to answer her. Bei Gong, US said that the news came from the Yin family. Perhaps the Bei Gong family released it on purpose. We should wait for the news from the other two sides before coming to a conclusion. Wei Ziqi said, "If the other two families had other discoveries, then they might still be alive. If the other two parties were also like this, it meant that this news should be true. Then Bei Gong Tang would have so much time to prepare herself." Sima Yue then called out close to 1,000 scarlet bees and asked them to gather more information, especially if there was anything unusual about the Bei Gong family. These scarlet bees all understood her feelings. They were very attentive and diligent in their investigation. They were also very diligent, looking carefully to see if there was anything special about the Bei Gong clan. Unexpectedly, in the end, they really did discover some clues. "Bei Gong, did you guys used to live in a dilapidated courtyard near the back of the mountain? There was a plum blossom tree to the right of the courtyard, right?" Sima Yu asked. Bei Gong Tang looked at her. "Did you find my mother and younger brother?" "Don't worry, they didn't notice your mother and the rest." Sima Yu said, "But they said that there's something strange about the courtyard." "What's wrong?" Bei Gong Tang did not understand. That courtyard is very simple. Other than 3 rooms and a courtyard, there's nothing else. The scarlet bees said that there was no one living in that courtyard, but there was a medicinal fragrance floating in the air. Medicinal fragrance? Bei Gong Tang was stunned. In the past, Bei Gong Ao always forced my mother to refine pills, so our courtyard was always filled with the fragrance of medicine. However, the news that the Een family received was that your mother had already died a few years ago. Then how could there still be a medicinal fragrance? Sima Yu said, "You're saying that my mother is still alive?" Bei Gong Tang looked at her hopefully. "I can only say that it's possible." Sima Yu said, "I'll ask them to investigate further. Let's wait for 2 days and see." "All right." Bei Gong Tang clasped her hands together, showing how nervous she was. Sima Yue reached out and held her hands. "If something really happened to your mother, we will definitely make the Beigong family and the Earth Palace pay the price. Even if I have to borrow Little Rock's or Divine Devil Valley's power, I will turn them upside down." "Yes, Yue is right." Fatty Chu chimed in from the side. "No matter what happens, we will always be by your side." "Thank you." Bei Gong Tang looked at her and forced a smile. She wanted to tell everyone that she was fine and that there was no need to worry. After waiting anxiously for 2 days, good news finally came. Een Lan and Bei Gong Hang were most likely still alive, but they might have been completely imprisoned. Hearing this news, Bei Gong Tang was both happy and worried. She was happy that her mother and younger brother could still be alive, but she was worried about the few years she was not around. What exactly did they experience? Why did the Bei Gong clan tell the Een clan that they were already dead? After a few days, the news was thoroughly investigated. Een Lan and Bei Gong Hang were still alive, but they were imprisoned in the small courtyard's dungeon. Bei Gong Tang did not know when the courtyard had a dungeon, but she was still very happy to know that her mother and younger brother were still alive. Then why did the Bei Gong clan say that my mother and the rest are already dead? This news just came from the Een clan. They said that a few years ago your uncle came back. He knew that your mother married into the Bei Gong clan, so he went to the Bei Gong clan and said that he wanted to see your mother. The Bei Gong clan did not get the Een clan's secret method. If your uncle knew about your mother and the rest, it would definitely cause trouble. So he told them that you were already dead. Sima Yue said, "I did hear my mother mention it before. She said that she had a good relationship with an uncle, and he was very talented. He had already left home for many years. She said that he was taken away by a power in the central regions." Bei Gong Tang said, "Now we have to think of a way to save your mother and younger brother." Fatty Chu said, "But if we just go up and ask for them, the Bei Gong clan will definitely deny it." Ouyang Fei said, "We have to find them first so that the Bei Gong clan has no way to deny it." Sima Yulin said, "We really have to find them first. However, the Bei Gong clan's security is very tight. That courtyard looks like there's no one outside, and it's an abandoned courtyard. However, there are many guards secretly watching it." Sima Yue told them the news that the Scarlet Bees sent. "I'll get the Scarlet Bees to find the exact location first." Okay. Another day passed. The Scarlet Queen Bee said that there was no way to find out the exact situation in the basement. Because there was a barrier, they could not enter. "This is troublesome," Sima Yuming said. "If they could not find them, they would have no way to ask the Bei Gong clan for them. We can only enter the Bei Gong clan to find them." Sima Yue said, "But you said it yourself. There are many people secretly watching that place. Even if we go, we will be discovered. It will be very dangerous." Fatty Chu said, "That's why we have to think of a foolproof plan." A few days later, a group of people went to the Bei Gong clan. They were led to the main hall of the Bei Gong clan and were personally received by the clan leader. "I didn't know that the Goshawk King had arrived. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Please take a seat and serve tea." Bei Gong Xiong said to the leader. Bei Gong clan leader is too courteous. The Goshawk King cupped his hands to Bei Gong Xiong and sat in the guest seat. The people who came with him sat in the seats below. The maidservant quickly brought up the tea. "I wonder why the Goshawk King has come personally?" Bei Gong Xiong asked. The Goshawk clan lived in a mountain range 100,000 miles away from Autumn Moon City. However, they never interacted with humans. The Goshawk King almost never appeared in the human world. That was why when the guard said that the Goshawk King had come personally, the entire Bei Gong clan was surprised. "It's like this. This is a friend of our Goshawk clan. Because he saved our clansmen before, we promised to help him." The Goshawk King pointed to a white-clothed man below, saying, "A few days ago, he came to our clan and asked for our precious Buddha lotus. He said that he wanted to refine a pill. This king was afraid that the Buddha lotus would be stolen midway because of how precious it is. That's why I came along. As for why I chose your Beigong clan, it's because we just happened to come in from the south gate and you're closer. If you can't refine the pill that he wants, we'll go to the one in the north." Beigong Xiong looked at the white-clothed man. He had delicate features and looked rather young. Who would have thought that he would have such a great relationship with the Goshawk clan? Chapter 485. May I know your name, young master? Beigong Xiong asked the man in white. "See you." Sima Yue randomly thought of a name. That's right, the person following the Goshawk King was Sima Yue. A few days ago, just as they were thinking of how to go to the Beigong clan without arousing the other party's suspicion, little Peng suddenly stood up, pushed open the window and looked outside, saying, "Yu, I have an idea." "What is it?" "Just now, I felt the aura of the bird clan." Little Rock said. "Wait here, we'll go out for a while." Sima Yue's eyes lit up. After saying that, she and little Peng went out. Not long after, the Sun Mother Stone reacted. "There's a Goshawk clan nearby. Let's take a look first. If possible, we'll get them to bring us to the Beigong clan. Wait for our news." Sima Yue's voice came from the Mother Sun Stone. "Are you going alone? How about we go with you?" Sima Lai said worriedly. "Grandpa, wait for me in the city. Maybe I'll need you to make some arrangements." Sima Yue said. "Don't worry, Little Rock is their king. We'll be fine." After saying that, she cut off the previous contact with them. They stopped two transformed vultures outside the city and found out that there were vultures here. They were not too far away, so they planned to ask the Vulture King for help. If a fight really broke out, he might need their help. The fact that Little Rock had evolved into a golden-winged rock was something that everyone in the bird world knew about. All the birds in the outer circle had received the news through special channels. However, because it was too far away, the birds in other places did not go to pay their respects. Sima Yue and Little Rock went to the Goshawk tribe, and the Goshawk King led his tribesmen to pay their respects. "Goshawk King, we have encountered a problem and we would like to ask for your help." Sima Yue went straight to the point. "If we can do it, just let us know." The Goshawk King said. Sima Yue explained the situation to me. She said that she hoped to use the Goshawk tribe to enter the Beigong family and create an opportunity for me to stay and find someone. "That's no problem," the Goshawk King said. "Also, I want you to sneak outside Autumn Moon City. If we encounter any problems, you can help." "That's not a problem. Then I'll have to trouble you." Sima Yu didn't think that this Goshawk King would be so easy to talk to despite looking a little cold. That was why the Goshawk King brought Sima Yue to the Beigong family. Beigong Xiong looked at Sima Yue, who was so calm. Her aura was not something an ordinary person could possess. Furthermore, the Goshawk King had personally escorted her. Her status was definitely not low. She might even be from the central region. He smiled and asked, "I wonder what kind of pill young Master Yu wants us to refine?" "Monarch breaking pill," Sima Yue said. The Monarch Breakthrough Pill had similar effects as the Divinity Breakthrough Pill, but the target was different. The Divinity Pill was used to allow people to break through from the spirit level to the divine level. The Monarch Breaking Pill was used to allow people from the divine level to advance to the Monarch level. Monarch Breaking Pill? Hearing this pill, the Beigong Xiong family sucked in a breath. Sima Yue nodded and said, "Can you refine it?" Beigong Ao said, "We can't." Sima Yue frowned. "Why?" "Because the Monarch Breaking Pill's recipe has been lost for a long time. Even if it's us, we can't refine it for you without the recipe." Beigong Ao said. Hearing this, Sima Yue relaxed and said, "The recipe is not a problem. I have it." "You have it?" Sima Yue said, "I've seen the recipe. It's an 8th tier pill. As long as you have an 8th tier alchemist, it's fine." "We have 8th tier alchemists," Beigong Ao said, "but the higher the level, the lower the success rate. Our alchemists have never practiced before, so we don't know if they can succeed. If we don't succeed in the end, I'm afraid we won't be able to answer to you. Sima sighed and said, I'm also an alchemist. I know the rules of the alchemy world. To be honest, I didn't prepare a lot of ingredients. I only managed to gather 30% of the ingredients. That's why I went to look for the Buddha lotus. You know that other than its effects, it can also increase the success rate of the pill. I have no other choice now. That person in my family doesn't have much time left. The only way to extend his life is to reach the monarch level as soon as possible. Then when do you plan to refine it? Bei Gongao asked as he thought about which family or sect was suitable for this. We still have to wait for 2 more days. Sima Yue said, because the last ingredient will only mature in 2 more days. When that time comes, someone will contact me and send it to me. I'm here to scout ahead. Since that's the case, then you can stay in my residence for 2 days. Once the ingredients are sent over, we'll start refining the pill. Bei Gongao said, all right, no matter if the pill refining is a success or not, we'll pay you handsomely. Sima Yue said. Bei Gongao didn't have much of a demand for this. Since the other party was an alchemist, he would naturally know the minimum price for each grade of alchemist. He wouldn't go back on his word. Moreover, the other party was brought here by the Goshawk King. It wasn't appropriate for him to raise his price. Now that the other party had said so, the reward would definitely not be small. Young Master Siyu, if you're sure that you want to refine the pill here, can you give us the pill formula first? We'll need to study it to increase the success rate. Sima Yue was a little hesitant. This was a lost pill formula. If she gave it to the other party, it would be gone. She wouldn't have it anymore. Bei Gongao saw Sima Yue's reaction and understood. If it was him, he would also hesitate. After all, this wasn't a small matter. However, in the end, Sima Yue still took out a pill formula. The ancient paper showed that this pill formula was from a long time ago. It definitely wasn't fake. We'll have to trouble clan head Bei Gongao. Sima Yue solemnly handed the pill formula to Bei Gongao. I'll get them to study this pill formula properly. Bei Gongao said, I'll get them to bring you guys to rest first. All right. The Goshawk King was very picky about where to stay. He didn't like the noise outside, so Bei Gongao brought them to a courtyard at the back. The Goshawk King said that if they wanted to be near the mountain, they just had to find a courtyard near the mountain. Thus, he arranged a courtyard near the back of the mountain for them. Sima Yue thought about the location of this courtyard that Bei Gongtang had told her about before. She realized that this place wasn't very far from where they used to live. You guys can leave. Our king doesn't like humans coming close. A goshawk waved at the person leading the way and said, everyone knew that the Goshawk King didn't like to interact with humans, so they didn't suspect anything and left. When Bei Gongao received the news, he ordered those people to not go near that area. Chapter 486. At night, a black shadow the size of a fist came out from the courtyard. The shadow flew while muttering softly. Really, she's such a beautiful Mao Mao, but you actually made it black. When we go back, you must compensate me. What do you mean I can completely restrain my aura? I'm the most suitable person for this mission. I think Yu is just unhappy that I was teasing Beauty Sang. Chatting with Beauty Sang. Little Roar quickly flew along the ground and quickly found the courtyard that Bei Gongtang and the others were living in. Seeing the dilapidated state of the courtyard, Little Roar felt indignant for Bei Gongtang. This Bei Gong family is too annoying. How is this a place for humans to live? Those houses are so crooked that they're about to collapse. Everything is in tatters. Only that plum blossom tree is still in good condition. I can't imagine how Bei Gong and the others live here. The Bei Gong family really owes them a lot. We'll see what Bei Gong has to say when the time comes. If they want to seek justice, we'll support them. Sima Yue said, did you see that basement? Not yet. I haven't entered the house yet. Little Roar said, I'll let the bee bring me in. All right. Wait a minute, find a place to hide, Sima Yue said hurriedly. Little Roar did not know why, but he still quickly hid on the roof and lay down. After a while, a man came out of the house and stood in the courtyard for a while. A woman followed him out of the house. Husband, that bitch still doesn't want to say it. You've already seen her concoct pills thousands of times. Can't you see her method? Gu Yun Er walked to Baigong Ao's side and said. Little Roar laid on the roof and lifted his round head to look down. Although he could only see the backs of the two people, he could tell that the two of them did indeed have some good looks. At the very least, their figures were not bad. The Yin clan's alchemy is too strange. I followed her refining process, but the pills I refined were not as good as hers. Baigong Ao said. We can't go on like this. Gu Yun Er was a little unhappy. Are you really doing this for the Yin clan's secret alchemy technique, or are you actually reluctant to part with that slut? Baigong Ao hugged Gu Yun Er and said gently, What are you talking about? Do you still not understand why I did it all these years? But if she doesn't say anything, are you going to keep her? Gu Yun Er asked. And that kid, he was clearly our bargaining chip to threaten her, yet he became her bargaining chip to threaten us. That's not right. Just looking at them makes me unhappy. Silly Yun. Baigong Ao hugged her and walked forward, coaxing her, I only have you in my heart and you're still jealous. How about this? Give her another 2 years. If she still refuses to talk to us after 2 years, I'll get rid of her and her son. What do you think? That's what you said. If she's still alive in 2 years, I'll end her myself. Don't blame me when the time comes. Good, good, good. The two of them chatted as they walked away. When Little Roar heard their conversation, he was so angry that he almost fell from the roof. These two bad people, I'll definitely teach you a lesson when we get back. He came down from the roof. 2 bees flew over and brought him into the house before landing in a corner. It's here. Little Roar flew over and tapped on the spot where the bees stopped. An underground passage appeared in front of him. Buzz, 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 dash. The bees flew in front of Little Roar. You're saying that they're down here? Little Roar looked at the pitch-black underground passage and said, I'm most afraid of the dark. It looks really scary down here. Buzz, 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 dash. One of the scarlet bees flew down, but was stopped by the enchantment of the passage. There's actually an enchantment. Little Roar said, Come, follow me down. As he said that, he stretched out his claws and hugged the 2 scarlet bees in his arms before flying down the passage. It's so dark. Little Roar flew forward based on his instincts. Only when he reached the end did he see a dungeon. There were 2 prison cells. One of them had a man lying in it, while the other had a woman sitting in the corner. A dim yellow lamp was in the corner, emitting a helpless light. Little Roar did not go out immediately. Instead, he observed in the darkness. However, the 2 of them seemed to be lifeless. Neither of them spoke. Until Little Roar was about to lose his patience, a hoarse voice came from the ground. You really have no way of contacting them? Does the Yin clan really not care about us? After not speaking for a long time, the man seemed to have lost his ability to speak. Yin Lan did not say anything. She was already exhausted from refining the pill. That man, I think he's about to lose his patience. Even if you use your life to save mine, we should be reaching the end. Baigong Hang sat up from the ground and said, I don't know where sister is now and how she's doing. If we died, would she know? I'm sorry, Hang Er. If I had let you go back then, you wouldn't have been locked up here with me for so many years. Inlon said. Mother, if the one who left back then was me, I'm afraid that the 3 of us would have died long ago. Baigong Hang leaned against the wall and looked at the dark wall. It was as if he could look at the sky like this. However, looking at that woman's expression, I'm afraid that she won't be able to bear with us for much longer. After being locked up for so many years, if we could really die, it would be a form of release. Inlon looked at Baigong Hang guiltily. Mother has let you down the most in this life. Mother, do you think that sister will suddenly come back and save us? Baigong Hang did not have the fear of facing death. Thinking of what he said, he laughed in disbelief. Even if sister survives, she wouldn't be able to cultivate so much in such a short period of time and come back to find us. I only hope that she will be able to take revenge for us when she comes back. Little Roar heard enough and flew to the front of the prison. He blinked his big eyes and asked, "Are you Yin Lan and Bei Gonghang?" Yin Lan and Bei Gonghang were shocked by the sudden appearance of the black dust ball. How did this thing suddenly appear in front of them? "Who are you?" Bei Gonghang looked at Little Roar cautiously. "I'm Little Roar. Are you Yin Lan and Bei Gonghang?" Little Roar asked again. "Yes. Were you sent by that woman to kill us?" Bei Gonghang asked. Other than this possibility, he could not think of anyone else who could pass through the enchantment above and come here. However, that black dust ball-like body and sparkling big eyes did not have a single bit of killing intent. It did not look like it was here to kill people. "It's good that you are." Little Roar took out a pendant from who knows where and asked, "Do you recognize this thing?" Yin Lan saw that pendant and her mouth opened in shock. She covered her mouth in disbelief. Chapter 487. Seeing Yin Lan's reaction, Little Roar knew that it was her. For mobile phone, please visit, "Mother, isn't that elder sister's pendant?" Bei Gonghang also recognized the pendant and said excitedly. Yin Lan came to the edge of the prison and reached out to take the pendant. "Where is Tang?" Little Roar placed the pendant into Yin Lan's hands and said, "Don't worry, Sister Bei Gong is still alive." "Where is she? Is it safe?" Bei Gonghang asked. "She's in Autumn Moon City. She's only a few kilometers away from here." Little Roar said. "How could she come back? If those people find out, she'll be in danger." Yin Lan said anxiously, "Please tell her to leave and not stay here any longer." "You guys don't have to worry. Bei Gong is safe right now. We came back this time to save you guys." Little Roar said, "I just heard that adulterous couple say that they would kill you guys in 2 years at the latest. We have to get you out of here." "I was too excited when I saw Tanger's things. I haven't asked you yet. What's your relationship with Tang?" Yin Lan tried her best to regain her composure as she asked. "My master and Bei Gong are good friends. They grew up together." Little Roar said. "There are many of us here. We will definitely be able to save you." They had grown up together since they were 14 years old. "It's still not possible. The Bei Gong clan is too strong. It's too dangerous to save us." Yin Lan still didn't agree. "If possible, you should save Hang. As long as I'm here, that man won't be too angry. After all, he just wants to get the secret technique from me. If I also go missing, then they will definitely spend a lot of effort and will definitely catch us before giving up. No, Mother. How can I run away by myself and let you bear all this alone?" Bei Gonghang shook his head in disapproval. "I have to stay here and stall for time." Yin Lan said, "You've suffered so much with me all these years. I can't watch you die with me. Now that your sister is back, she should be able to guarantee your safety." "I don't agree." "Stop fighting. My master said that no one can be left behind. All of you have to go out." Little Roar said, "However, this specific method can only be discussed after we find you and see your situation. That's why we need you to wait here for 2 days. Now, my master has a question for you." Yin Lan saw the determination in her son's eyes and said, "Ask away. We will tell you everything we know." "All right. First question, when will that scumbag come again?" "Scumbag? It's that scum Bei Gong Ao. Anywhere from 5 to 10 days. He's only here tonight, which means he won't be here for the next 5 days, right?" "I think so." "All right, next question, how strong are the two of you now?" "I'm a mid-level god emperor, hasn't reached the god realm yet." Next, after Little Roar finished asking his question, he took out a bottle of pills from who knows where and gave it to Bei Gonghang, saying, "This is to help you heal. When Gu Yun Air and Bei Gong Air were free, they would come and beat Bei Gonghang up, so he had many new and old wounds on his body. Because Yin Lan had to refine pills, she did not suffer any physical injuries." "All right, I have to go back. I'll come back in 2 days. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if they suddenly come. Sigh, it's so sad to be weak." Little Roar sighed after he finished speaking and went back the way he came. After Little Roar left, Yin Lan and Bei Gonghang looked at each other. If not for the pendant in Lan's hand and the pills in Bei Gonghang's hand, they would definitely have thought that they were dreaming. We were just talking about elder sister, who knew that such a spirit beast would come. This is too mysterious. Bei Gonghang said. Tang Er is still alive. There's still her aura on this. I can feel it. Lan held the pendant in front of her chest. She's still alive. That's great. When little Roar returned to Sima Yue's side, he told her what that scumbag man and scumbag woman said. This made Sima Yue extremely angry. After her anger subsided, she took out the mother-son stone and contacted the outside world. When Bei Gongtang found out that her mother and brother were still alive, her heart was finally at ease. The others were also happy for her, and the atmosphere in the room relaxed. Now that we've confirmed that they're still alive, let's discuss the next step of the plan. My idea is... On the second day, Sima Yue used the excuse of wanting to visit the Bei Gong clan to walk around. When she was about to reach the small courtyard where Bei Gongtang and the others used to live, a girl stopped her with a smile. This must be young Master Siyu? This little girl is called Bei Gong Er. Greetings. That girl bowed slightly to Sima Yue, looking a little shy. Sima Yue did not think that this girl would be Bei Gong Er. She looked a little similar to Bei Gong Tang, probably inherited from Bei Gong Ao. So it's Miss Bei Gong Er. My apologies. Sima Yue cupped her hands to Bei Gong Er and smiled. Bei Gong Er looked at Sima Yue's courteous manner and smiled coquettishly. Young Master Siyu, that's an abandoned courtyard. There's nothing much to see. If you want to walk around, why don't I accompany you to a better place? Then I'll have to trouble Miss Bei Gong. Sima Yue replied, I didn't see any guards or servants when I came out just now. I could only walk around blindly. I heard that the Goshawk King doesn't like humans. That's why great-grandfather told the clansmen not to come near here. No wonder you couldn't find him when you came out. Bei Gong Er said, Where does young Master Siyu want to go? So Miss Bei Gong is the young miss of the Bei Gong clan. I really didn't recognize you. Sima Yue pretended to be surprised. Anywhere is fine. I don't have any requirements. I just saw that your clan is so grand and wanted to take a look around. I'll go wherever the scenery is good. Then young Master Siyu, please follow me. Bei Gong Er walked. You really have to follow me wherever the Bei Gong clan is good because I know these things the best. Then this C is very lucky to have met young Miss today. Young Master Siyu is too courteous. Bei Gong Er said, Oh right, you came out to walk around. Where are the Goshawk King and the others? They're fixing things in the house. Sima Yue looked at Bei Gong Er, wanting to know what she was up to. Bei Gong Tang's eyes turned, and she pretended to ask casually, I heard that you have a good relationship with the Goshawk clan. The Goshawk King actually personally came down the mountain for you. I wonder what's going on? Can you tell little Er about it? When Sima Yue heard how little Er addressed her, she was so disgusted that she almost vomited. However, she still had to keep up the act. Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just that my great-grandfather saved the Goshawk King before. Then, did they let you form a contract with their Goshawk King? I heard that the Goshawk King's flying speed is very fast. Is that true? Sima Yue laughed coldly in her heart. This fox's tail was revealed so quickly. Chapter 488. Sima Yue said calmly, I don't have a contract with any eagles, but we came here on one of them. It was really fast, much faster than the other birds. That's really not bad. Bei Gong Er said enviously, I've always wanted to give it a try, but unfortunately, I never had the chance. Hee hee. Sima Yue chuckled and refused to follow her words. Bei Gong Er saw that Sima Yue wasn't replying to her and her eyes flashed with annoyance. She smiled and asked, How long will young Master Sima Yue be staying this time? If you have enough time, I can bring you around. I know a lot of good places. Forget about it. Sima Yue rejected him directly. I have something to do this time. The reason why I'm able to enjoy these 2 days of leisure is because I still need one more herb. I'm still waiting for them to send it to me. Once the medicinal ingredients are delivered and you have finished refining the pills for us, I will leave. So I'm afraid I can't go out with Miss Beigong. That's such a pity. Beigong Air said regretfully, I wonder where young Master Siyu lives? I don't think I've heard of a family with the surname Si in the nearby cities. Our Si family is not in the central region, Sima Yue said. It's not a clan from the central region? Beigong Air said in surprise. Then why did you come here to become an alchemist? Sigh. Sima Yue shook her head and said, Isn't it because this monarch-breaking pill is too difficult? In order to obtain the Buddha lotus, we had no choice but to come here. You also know that after plucking the Buddha lotus, you must quickly refine it into pills. Otherwise it would be useless. To be honest, I haven't even seen the Buddhist lotus yet. The Goshawk King will only send someone to bring the Buddhist lotus over after the herb is delivered. If I still can't succeed in refining it, then sigh, perhaps this is fate. The beasts in the spirit pagoda all rolled their eyes. Master was so talented in acting. Sima Yue cursed in her heart. The Beigong family actually sent Beigong Air to test her. They must be drunk. Beigong Air looked at Sima Yue and sighed. My Beigong family is also a family of alchemists. We have several 8th-ranked alchemists. I heard that they are all studying the pill recipe today. There shouldn't be any problems when it's time to refine the pill. It would be best if Miss Beigong said so. But I have to be prepared for the best. If it doesn't work, sigh. Actually, if it doesn't work, I don't even dare to imagine the consequences, Sima Yue said in frustration. It's all Xiao Yi's fault for making young Master Siyu upset. In order to make up for my mistake, why don't I treat you to a drink? Drink? Forget it. I can't hold my liquor well. I'll get drunk as soon as I drink. Sima Yue said. How can cultivators like us have such low alcohol tolerance? Beigong Air said, Xiao Yi really wants to apologize to young Master Siyu. Could it be that young master doesn't want to be with Xiao Yi? No. Why wouldn't I want to be with Miss Beigong? Sima Yue quickly waved her hands, looking like she was in a difficult position. Finally, she sighed and said, Since Miss Beigong has said so, it wouldn't be good for me to reject it. Let's go have a drink then. Then I'll treat you to a famous restaurant in Autumn Moon City. Although Memory Restaurant has only been open for about 10 years, the food and drinks inside are not bad. Especially the wine. It's fragrant and sweet. You can't find it anywhere else. Beigong Air said. Sima Yue was stunned when she heard the name Memory Restaurant. There was a Memory Restaurant here too? Young Master Siyu, what are you thinking about? Beigong Air asked when she saw her in a daze. Oh, nothing. Sima Yue shook her head and said, I just remembered that I haven't eaten at Memory Restaurant for a long time. I miss the taste there. You have a Memory Restaurant there too? Beigong Air asked in astonishment. That's right. There are many Memory Restaurants in many places. Don't you know? Beigong Air shook her head and said, Although I know that Memory Restaurant is very big, I've been in Autumn Moon City since I was young. I haven't been to other places for 20 years, so I haven't seen it before. That's why I really want to have a powerful flying beast that can bring me to many places. Sima Yue looked at Beigong Air. She really looked like an innocent girl who had never seen the world. If it wasn't for the scarlet bees that were monitoring her, telling her how domineering, arrogant, and willful she was usually, she would have been deceived by her. You're the young miss of the Beigong clan. You'll have many opportunities to go out and see the world. Sima Yue said, Let's go to Memory Restaurant. After an hour, Sima Yue and Beigong Air arrived at Memory Restaurant. When the shopkeeper saw Sima Yue enter, his expression changed. He instructed the waiter and went to the back hall. Young Miss Beigong, you're here. Is it the same private room as before? The waiter went forward and asked eagerly. Yes, it's that one. Beigong Air exuded a sense of superiority when facing these people. We'll go up ourselves. Give me a portion of all your signature dishes. Also, give us 2 portions of your best wine. All right. 1 portion of all your signature dishes and 2 portions of your best wine, the waiter said as he ran towards the kitchen. Beigong Air brought Sima Yue to her favorite private room. It was the best private room on the 2nd floor. Sima Yue saw a staircase before entering and asked casually, "Are there private rooms upstairs too?" Bei Gong-er glanced at the staircase and said, "That's a restricted area. Guests are not allowed to go up." "So there's only the main hall and the private rooms on the second floor?" "That's right. Although this place is small, business is the best." Even though cultivators rarely eat, this place is always full. Even the private rooms have to be booked a few days in advance. Only our private room and the one opposite are fixed. Bei Gongyi said. "That's the Yin family's?" Sima Yue heard sounds coming from inside. It seemed like someone was drinking. Bei Gong-er pursed her lips and glared at the other side, saying, "Isn't that so? This Yin family likes to suppress us. We booked a long-term private room here and they came to book it too. They even paid a higher deposit than us. How annoying." Sima Yue did not have a good impression of the Yin family and did not care about who was in the room. The two of them entered the private room. The waiter served tea first. The taste was similar to the tea they drank at Memory Restaurant in innumerable Green City. Not long later, the waiter served various dishes and 2 jars of good wine. A few minutes later, Sima Yue's cheeks were flushed red and her eyes were blurry. One look and you could tell that she was drunk. "Looks like young Master C you really can't drink. Xiao Er thought that you were just trying to shirk the responsibility." "I really can't drink," Sima Yue said as she waved her hand. Bei Gong-er's eyes flashed with delight as she looked at her and asked, "Young Master said that you're not from the Central Territory. May I know where you live?" Chapter 489. Was he planning to get her drunk to get information? Sima Yue sneered in her heart. She pretended to be drunk and said in a daze, "My house? My home isn't here. My home is far away." "I know. You said you weren't in the central region." Bei Gongyi said. "It's not just the central region. It's not even in the outer region." Sima Yue said, "Sigh, our family rules state that we're not allowed to use our family name to bully others. That's why we're not allowed to announce our family name when we go out." Hearing this, Bei Gongyi was overjoyed. They had already guessed that this person's identity wasn't simple. Otherwise, the Goshawk King wouldn't have come personally. They hadn't expected him to be from the central area. If they could form a good relationship with the Beigong clan, wouldn't the Beigong clan soar in the future? If she became his woman, she would be able to live in the central region. Thinking up to this point, she was overjoyed and an idea came to her mind. She picked up the wine jug and filled Sima Yue to the brim, saying, "Young Master Siyu, this wine isn't bad, right?" "Not bad, not bad. It tastes good," Sima Yue said as she downed the wine in one gulp. Bei Gong refilled the glass and said shyly, "Is this wine more beautiful, or am I more beautiful?" Blurg. Sima Yue immediately went to the side and vomited. Those words were so disgusting that she could not help but vomit. After vomiting, she seemed to sober up a little and said, "Sorry, my alcohol level is really..." Bei Gong-er's face darkened when she saw Sima Yue vomiting. However, since Sima Yue said that she vomited after drinking, that should be the case. It was a pity that she couldn't continue after vomiting. The sour smell was really unpleasant. "Looks like it's really hard for little E to let young Master see you drink. Why don't we go back earlier?" Okay. Sima Yue stood up unsteadily and walked out. Bei Gong-er reached out to support her, but she accidentally swayed away. Then, she opened the door and swayed out. When they went downstairs, the shopkeeper saw them and said with a smile, "Miss Bei Gong, you're done eating so quickly?" "Yes, my friend can't hold her liquor. Find us a beast carriage." Bei Gong-er pointed at Sima Yue and said, "All right. Waiter, prepare a beast carriage for Miss Bei Gong." The shopkeeper looked at Sima Yue meaningfully and said, "This child is drunk. You have to support him carefully later." "Okay." The waiter put the rag on his shoulder and went out. Sima Yue held onto the stairs and pretended to be drunk. She felt that the way the shopkeeper looked at her was a little strange. However, since it was her first time here, it shouldn't be a problem. "Young Master Siyu, let me help you out," Bei Gong-er said as she stepped forward. "No need. I can walk on my own. Sima Yue continued to walk towards the door unsteadily. She accidentally bumped into someone who was walking in from outside. Am I right? She knew something was wrong the moment she smelled it. It was a familiar smell. She raised her head and saw a familiar face. Senior brother? Why you here? I'm here to give you something. Wu Lingyu hugged Sima Yue and said to Bei Gong, I'll take her away first. After he finished speaking, he didn't wait for Bei Gong to speak and helped Sima Yue out. Bei Gong wanted to say something but was ignored. When the shopkeeper saw Wu Lingyu, he didn't say anything. He lowered his head so that Wu Lingyu couldn't see his gaze. On the second floor, the window of a private room facing the street opened. A man and a woman sat in front of the window. The man was wearing a mask. Seeing the two of them walking on the street, the woman said, Is that the holy son of the sage pavilion, Wu Lingyu? How did he get here? Could it be that he's also going to participate in the auction? I don't know. But since he's a member of the Sage Pavilion, he should be counted as one of our targets this time. The masked man looked at the two of them coldly. But no one knows Wu Lingyu's strength. It's said that those who went to find trouble with him didn't survive. If you go up against him, won't it be too dangerous? The woman said worriedly. I don't have long to live. If I can kill one more, I'll take my revenge. You sigh. The woman sighed. She looked at Sima Yue and asked. She called him senior brother just now. What about her? Do we have to kill her too? The masked man looked at Sima Yue's back. He didn't know why, but he felt a sense of familiarity. Sima Yue felt the gaze behind her and turned around. Their eyes met. Boom! Sima Yue felt as if her heart had collapsed. She looked straight at the masked man. The world around her seemed to have quietened down. Only the two of them were left. Seeing Sima Yue's gaze on him, the masked man frowned. The mole under his eyebrows moved. Wu Lingyu noticed that Sima Yue was acting strangely. He followed her gaze and saw that she was staring straight at another man. His heart started to bubble. He hadn't settled the score with her yet, and now she was looking at another man in front of him. Sima Yue looked at the masked man. Her eyes were red. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something, but her tears fell first. What's wrong? Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue was crying and asked softly. Sima Yue came back to her senses and saw Bei Gong coming out of the inn. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and said, It's nothing. Let's go. The moment she turned around, she seemed to hear a familiar voice from her memory. Big sister, let's eat roasted spirit rabbit today. Big sister, leave quickly. You have to survive and take revenge for us. She closed her eyes and her tears fell uncontrollably. When she turned the corner, she called out a few scarlet bees and made them fly back. That person looked at you strangely. The masked man looked at Sima Yue's back. His mind was still immersed in the gaze just now. That gaze, that feeling, it was similar to when his big sister looked at him. But at that time, his big sister's gaze was filled with love and pampering. There was no such thick guilt. Are you all right? The woman waved her hand in front of his face, interrupting his memories. I'm fine. The masked man adjusted his emotions and said, I don't know who that person is. That person wasn't his big sister. His big sister was already dead. No matter how similar the gaze was, it couldn't be her. That's easy. I'll get someone to check and we'll know. The woman took out a paper crane. She inserted her spiritual energy and sent a strand of divine sense into it. Then, the paper crane spread its wings and flew away. Sima Yue wasn't in a good mood. She walked in a daze. The two of them walked on the street. Wu Lingyu didn't care about her and watched as she bumped into a tree trunk by the side of the road. Sima Yue was in pain. When she came back to her senses, she saw that she had walked to the side of the road. She heard Wu Lingyu's laughter behind her. She turned around and glared at him, but saw that he was smiling brightly. Chapter 490. When Wu Lingyu saw Sima Yue's dissatisfied gaze, he walked up to her and rubbed her forehead. He smiled and said, Let's see if you'll still be so distracted next time. Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him, turned around and continued walking. She could not be bothered with him. Wu Lingyu was still reminiscing about her anger and disdain just now. She felt very happy. Seeing that she had already walked far away, she hurriedly chased after her and walked side by side with her. You know that person? Speaking of that person, Sima Yue looked a little sad. She shook her head and said, maybe I know him, maybe I don't. It's more likely that they don't know each other. At that time, the situation was so critical, how could he have survived? However, her first impression of him, that pair of familiar eyes, and that mole under his eyebrows gave her a glimmer of hope. What if he was still alive? Just like that, she hoped that the person was him, but she also felt that it was impossible. Her heart was tangled between hope and reality. Wu Lingyu felt that this girl had changed a lot ever since she had advanced to the deity level. The hatred and grief in her eyes were something that had never been there before. Moreover, her murderous heart was stronger than before. By the way, you haven't told me why you're here. Sima Yue asked. I went into seclusion. When I came out, I found you here, so I came. Wu Lingyu said, the compass that I gave you leads directly to the Divine Devil Valley. How did you end up in the outskirts? If I had known earlier, I would have brought you here. Speaking of this, Sima Yue smiled helplessly. Don't think that I don't know that your soul is unstable right now. You can walk around the primordial lands as you wish, but it won't be easy for you to go to the lower continents. Moreover, I want to use the boundary compass to reach Divine Devil Valley directly, so I don't want to trouble you. Who would have thought that I would encounter an almighty battle in the space passage, which affected the void and shattered my passage? I came here before I even reached the Divine Devil Valley. After regaining her memories, she remembered that low-level continents were protected by the rules, so it was much more difficult to construct a spatial passage to the past. Especially the Yilin continent. As a continent of imprisonment, its level was the lowest, its laws were the strongest, and it had the most protection. At the same time, there was also a lot of suppression. Wu Lingyu's soul was still incomplete, so it would take some effort for her to go there. To use an analogy, traversing the same continent was like cutting a watermelon. Breaking through to the continent below was like using the same knife to cut a bone. The difficulty was not increased by just a little bit. Moreover, she also wanted this spatial compass to bring her directly to the Divine Devil Valley, so she didn't want to trouble him. She could just go by herself. Who knew that she would be so unlucky to encounter such a rare occurrence? Wu Lingyu didn't know how she knew all this, but it seemed like she was being considerate when she rejected her. Are you going to the Divine Devil Valley now? Not now. Sima Yue shook her head. Beigong's matter is not settled yet. We still want to attend the Xianyuan Pavilion's auction. I heard that the Sky Heaven School's enrollment is in a few days. We want to try. Initially, she only wanted to learn about spatial coordinates. Later on, she slowly understood the power of the Sky Heaven School, so she wanted to give it a try. The Sky Heaven School is indeed a good place. Although it's in the outer regions, its status is not lower than the Divine Devil Valley. There are many powerful teachers there, so it's good to go there. When I returned to the Divine Devil Valley, Master knew that you were in the central region. He also said that if you have the chance, you should go to the Sky Heaven School. There are many old fellows there who are friends with the Divine Devil Valley. Wu Lingyu said. If I didn't say to go to the Sky Heaven School, you would have let me go. Sima Yue didn't think that Old Man Devil would suggest them to go to the Sky Heaven School. Isn't this convenient? Wu Lingyu said. If you went directly to the Divine Devil Valley, you wouldn't have to come here. Since you're already here, it's good for your growth to broaden your horizons. Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. She knew that she was weak now, but she was still young. It wasn't that she wanted to boast, but she was already a mid-level divine king in her 20s. Other than those who were born with high birth points, she was already considered very powerful. However, even Old Man Devil had such a high evaluation of the Sky Heaven School. It seemed like there was something there that was worth learning. The two of them went to the inn that they stayed in before. Bei Gong Tang and the others were surprised to see Sima Yue return. However, when they saw Wu Lingyu behind her, they understood. I originally wanted Zichi to pretend to be the person who delivered the medicine. Now that senior brother is here, Zichi doesn't need to go. Sima Yue said. Tomorrow, senior brother and I will go to the Beigong clan. Then, you can openly ask for the person. It's best if you can attract all the important people of the Beigong clan. If they don't admit it, we'll bring the mother and son in front of everyone. However, there's one thing. You can't enter the Beigong clan. You can only wait outside. Once you enter, the Beigong clan might use some ruthless methods to exterminate us. At least there will be people watching from outside. The Beigong clan won't dare to act so brazenly. Okay. Beigong Tang nodded. Right when we went out today, we met the Yin clan. Did you have a conflict? Sima Yue frowned. It would not be a good thing to have a conflict with the Yin clan at this time. No. Beigong Tang shook her head. However, we heard them say that my uncle has returned. I think that if we have the chance to meet him, it might be helpful. However, I was afraid that it would clash with your plan, so I wanted to tell you. Then what about the rest of the Yin clan? What are your plans? We'll talk about it after we save mother and younger brother. She had never interacted with a large clan like the Yin clan. It didn't matter whether they existed or not. It would depend on what her mother said. That uncle of yours should really care about your mother. If we get him to help us put pressure on the Beigong clan, it should be useful. Sima Yue said. Then let's find a time to meet him today. Okay. Beigong Tang smiled and replied. At night, Beigong Tang, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu left the inn together and went straight to the Yin clan in the north of the city. Yin Hao was cultivating in the house when he suddenly felt a pair of eyes looking at him. There was no murderous intent. He opened his eyes and saw a spirit beast that looked like a black charcoal ball floating in the air, looking at him. Before he started cultivating, he had clearly set up a barrier around the house. How did this little guy come in? Are you Yin Hao? Little Roar asked. You've already come into my house. Do you still need to ask this question? Yin Hao looked at Little Roar. He was not nervous and was certain that it would not hurt him. Someone wants to see you. Little Roar said. You'll be surprised when you see them. You'll regret it if you don't see them. Little Roar turned around and flew out. Yin Hao saw it clearly. When it met the barrier only rippled a little before it went out. After thinking about it, he still followed it out. Chapter 491. Yin Hao followed Little Roar all the way to a secluded alley near the Yin clan. The moment he entered, he realized that there were 3 people standing inside. One of them was someone he recognized, the holy son of the Sage Pavilion. First edition, he didn't know the other 2. Judging from their young age, they probably didn't know who he was. Is it Wu Lingyu who is looking for me? Why are you looking for me? We are here to tell you a piece of news. Yin Lan is still alive, but she has been imprisoned. Sima Yue looked at Yin Hao and carefully observed his expression. Seeing the shock and joy on his face, she knew that he was really happy, and her worries disappeared. Are you telling the truth? Yin Hao looked at the 3 of them and regained his calmness after his joy. He looked at the 3 of them warily. Why are you telling me this? Because we need your help, Sima Yue said. Although you are together with the holy son of the Sage Pavilion, how can I believe that your words are true? Yin Hao said. You should know that Yin Lan gave birth to a son and a daughter. The daughter escaped from the Beigong family with the help of others. Sima Yue said. Yin Hao frowned. Sima Yue even knew about this. If she didn't really know Yin Lan and the others and had other motives, then she was too dangerous. Sima Yue looked at Beigong Tang and said, Why aren't you revealing your identity to her? Beigong Tang took a deep breath and said, I am the daughter of Yin Lan who escaped that year. You're Xiao Tang? You don't look like Yin Lan. How can you prove it? Yin Hao asked cautiously. Beigong Tang touched her own face, her eyes filled with undisguised disgust. Because it was very similar to that man, very similar. Mother once told me that you have the best relationship with her in the Yin family. You used to bring her everywhere to play. There was once when you ran into the mountains and were bitten by a snake. It was Mother who personally washed the poison out for you. Afraid of being punished by the elders, the two of you concealed this matter. Also, when the two of you were young, you saw a parrot raised by your family and roasted it. That parrot is your granduncle's favorite. Only the two of you know about this. Enough. Yin Hao looked at Bei Gong Tang emotionally. Seeing that her eyes were the same as his own sister's, he stepped forward and hugged her emotionally. When I came back that year, the Bei Gong family said that you went missing when you went out to play. Your mother and brother also died. At that time, I guessed that you didn't have a good life in the Bei Gong family. I only found out about those things after the investigation. I hate that I didn't come back earlier and let you suffer so much. Uncle, Mother is still alive. It's just that I was afraid that you would continue to pester me, so I said that Mother and younger brother were already dead. Bei Gong Tang had never been hugged by anyone other than her mother since she was young, so she said shyly. Are you telling the truth? Your mother is still alive. We've already investigated clearly. Little Roar has already seen Mother and confirmed that they are still alive. Bei Gong Tang said. Let's go to the Bei Gong family now and make them hand them over. Yin Hao pulled Bei Gong Tang and was about to leave. Uncle, don't be anxious. If we go like this, they will definitely not admit it. Bei Gong Tang said. But your mother and brother are still in the Bei Gong family. We've already thought of a way. We will definitely save Mother and younger brother. Bei Gong Tang said, We've come to find Uncle today to ask for your help. If there's anything you need me to do, just tell me directly. An hour later, Yin Hao returned to the Yin family and the three of them rushed towards the south of the city. It was fortunate that Sima Yuyue had comprehended the shrinking earth technique. Otherwise, if they didn't ride a flying beast, they definitely wouldn't be able to travel from the south to the north of the city in one night. Sima Yuyue held onto one person in each hand. Bei Gong Tang and Wu Lingyu naturally moved at the same speed as her. Although the shrinking earth technique was still in its early stages, the round trip and the time it took Yin Hao to speak added up to less than a night. Sima Yuyue had seen the introduction of the shrinking earth technique in a book on space comprehension. It was actually the evolved version of teleportation. At that time, she didn't feel that it was that awesome. Today, she personally tried it out and realized how powerful it was. She had just started and could already travel a few thousand kilometers in the night. If she mastered this technique in the future, this world would be much smaller to her. When they reached the south of the city, Sima Yue let go of the two of them and said, You guys can go back first. Yue, you're not going back with us. Where are you going? Bei Gong Tang asked. I have some private matters to settle. Sima Yue finished speaking and used the shrinking earth technique again to leave. Bei Gong Tang saw Wu Lingyu looking at Sima Yue's back as she left and said, You know where she's going? I know. Wu Lingyu replied faintly. Then why didn't you go with her? She already said that she wanted to go by herself. Even if I told her, she wouldn't let me go. Wu Lingyu entered the inn after he finished speaking and went to Sima Yue's room. He didn't ask about those things. He believed that one day she would tell him. Sima Yu came to the front of an inn a few streets away. She looked at a room that was lit up by the street and remained silent. Feng Er. She looked at the shadow on the window and muttered. Yu, is that person really Feng Er? Little Roar still had his black fur. Yu said that he had to stay like this before things were settled. He looked so ugly. He didn't look elegant at all. He still liked his white appearance. However, he didn't dare to mention this to Sima Yue because he knew how she felt. Can you smell Feng Er's scent? Little Roar shook his head. However, his head couldn't be seen in the dark anymore. His scent is different. Sima Yue raised her head and looked at the shadow again. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. A person could change his appearance and voice, but it was very difficult to change his scent. Maybe he brought something like you that can change his scent. Little Roar persuaded. Sima Yue was stunned. She then remembered that the ring that Wu Lingyu gave her could change her scent. Maybe the other party had changed his scent as well, which was why Little Roar couldn't recognize him. The window was suddenly pushed open. The masked man and her met each other again. He already knew that she was outside. However, he didn't know why, but he had an inexplicable feeling towards the person outside. That was why he didn't immediately take action. Feng Er, is that you? Sima Yue muttered to herself. The masked man's body trembled. Suddenly his gaze changed. He flew down from the room and came to Sima Yue's side. He grabbed her neck and the temperature was as cold as ice. Who are you? His hoarse voice sounded like it came from hell. Chapter 492. Book title, Chapter Refusal to Recognize You. Author Sima Yue lowered her eyes and looked at the hand that was full of wounds. It was as if this was not the person who was strangling her and controlling her life. Who are you? The masked man asked again and tightened his grip. Sima Yue could barely breathe. Shimin Feng. She spat out these 3 words with difficulty. Shimin Feng's aura suddenly changed, bursting into a berserk state. Who are you? Who sent you? If you don't tell me, I will kill you. Release you. Little Roar saw that the opponent was serious. Sima Yue's neck was about to be broken by him. With a kick of his short legs, he charged towards the opponent. Bang! That person waved his hand. Not only did Little Roar not injure him, he was also thrown far away. Little Roar fiercely crashed into the wall, and a fist-sized hole appeared on the wall. Little Roar! Sima Yue saw that Little Roar had been sent flying and cried out worriedly. She grabbed onto that person's hand with both of her hands. Taking advantage of the moment when he was stunned, her body moved nimbly and she escaped from his grasp. You! Little Roar! The man unconsciously took 2 steps back and looked at Sima Yue in disbelief. Roar! Little Roar instantly ran back and transformed into his original form. He roared at the masked man and quickly pounced over. When the man saw Little Roar's body, he was stunned and forgot to move. Only when Little Roar was right in front of him did he reach out a hand to stop Little Roar. However, this time, he did not throw Little Roar away. You're no match for me in your current state, he said hoarsely. Even if I'm no match for you, I will still protect you. Little Roar tried his best to move, but the opponent's strength was too strong. Even if he was fully recovered, he would not be his opponent, not to mention now that his injuries had not fully recovered. You guys can leave now. The masked man retracted his power and left after speaking to Sima Yue. Shimin Feng, you have already recognized me, why don't you recognize me? Sima Yue roared. The masked man's footsteps faltered, but he didn't turn around. What are you talking about? I don't understand. I don't know you, so don't come looking for me. Every time you lie, you press your right thumb against your ring finger. Sima Yue said, even after so many years, you still haven't changed this habit. The masked man's hand paused. He quickly released his thumb from his ring finger and continued to stride forward. Sister, you've always been protecting me. This time, it's my turn to protect you. You go first, I'll wait for you to come back and find me after you've recovered. Sister, I'll wait for you. You have to stay alive. Sister, I'll wait for you. In my next life, I'll still be your brother. Sima Yue said tearfully, now that I'm back, why are you pretending not to know me? The face under the mask was also covered in tears. His hands loosened and loosened several times, but in the end he left without looking back. Sima Yue closed her eyes as she watched him leave. She was too familiar with him. His small movements had already exposed his identity, but he didn't want to acknowledge her, and she didn't want to acknowledge him. Yu. Little Roar came to Sima Yue's side and rubbed against her body. Sima Yue stayed in the same spot for a while. She turned around and sat on Little Roar, saying, let's go back. We don't have to hurry, we can just walk back slowly. All right. Little Roar was unusually quiet and didn't say anything. He brought Sima Yue back to the inn. After they left, a voice came from the corner and stared blankly at their backs. Sister, I'm sorry. Since she's your sister, why don't you acknowledge her? A voice came from behind. Shimin Feng turned around. Kong Sangyi stood not far away and looked at him. Shimin Feng smiled bitterly. How can I acknowledge her when I'm like this? If we're destined to be separated by death again, then I'd rather not acknowledge her. After he finished speaking, he walked past Kong Sangyi and returned to the inn. Kong Sangyi looked at Shimin Feng's back and firmly clenched his fist. I definitely won't let you die, definitely. When Sima Yue returned to the inn, the sky was already bright. Everyone had already woken up and was waiting for her. Seeing her enter, it was obvious that she had cried. They were all worried. Sima Yue waved her hand, telling Fatty Chu not to speak and not to ask. She then said to Bei Gong Tang, I'll go back now. You can wait here for my news. All right. Bei Gong Tang knew that she wasn't in a good mood and nodded. Are you going alone? Why don't you let your senior go with you? Him. Sima Yue was startled, as if she had already forgotten about Wu Lingyu. I'll ask him if he wants to go with me. The door to her room opened and Wu Lingyu came out, saying, I'll go with you, let's go. The two of them walked out side by side. In order to save Yin Lan and her son, she temporarily suppressed her emotions. By the time she reached the Bei Gong clan, she had already calmed down and became Siyu again. Young Master Si, please. The guards had already received instructions, and when they saw Sima Yue walking over, they led them to the main hall. When they arrived, Bei Gong Xiong was talking to a few clan elders. When he heard that Sima Yue and the rest were here, he immediately got someone to bring them in. When Sima Yue saw Bei Gong Xiong, she asked anxiously, Clan leader Bei Gong, the ingredients have already been sent over. When will we start refining the pills? I heard Xiao Yi say that someone was looking for young Master Siyu yesterday. I guess that someone from your clan had come. Bei Gong Xiong said with a smile, I've already instructed those few alchemists to wait in the pill refining room. Bei Gong Xiong looked at Sima Yue with a burning gaze because Bei Gong Air did not disappoint him yesterday and brought back news about Sima Yue. When the Bei Gong clan found out that they were from the central regions, they were very excited and paid more attention to the pill refining this time. If they were successful, they might even be connected to the powers in the central regions. We can't do it today. Sima Yue said, the Buddha lotus hasn't arrived yet. Even if we go and get it today, it will only arrive tomorrow. Then we'll wait for one more day. Bei Gong Xiong said. All right, then we'll set it for the morning of the day after tomorrow. Sima Yue said, I hope that we can start the day after tomorrow. I hope that the Bei Gong clan can inform the masters. That's not a problem. Bei Gong Xiong replied, then I'll send someone to bring you to rest. All right. It just so happened that Bei Gong Ao was around, so Bei Gong Xiong got him to send them to rest. Sima Yue did not say much along the way. When they passed by the abandoned courtyard, Sima Yue stopped and said, Is this an abandoned courtyard? The Bei Gong clan actually has such an abandoned courtyard. It looks really out of place. Why didn't they tear it down and build something else? This was the place where my late wife lived. After she died, I was so heartbroken that I didn't dare to come here. I couldn't bear to erase her existence, so I just left it here. I didn't expect it to be in such a dilapidated state. Sigh, my heart. Young Master Bei Gong and your late wife were really deeply in love. Sima Yue said ambiguously. But why do I smell a medicinal fragrance? Chapter 493. Bei Gong Ao's expression changed slightly. He had forgotten that Sima Yue was also an alchemist. He quickly smiled and said, maybe there are people refining pills in the surrounding courtyards. That's true. Alchemy aristocratic families concoct pills everywhere. Sima Yue smiled and did not pursue the matter any further. This made Bei Gong Ao heave a sigh of relief. When they arrived at the place where Sima Yue and the rest were temporarily staying, Bei Gong Ao quickly left. The words that Sima Yue had said, whether intentionally or unintentionally, made him feel embarrassed. He thought that she had discovered something, but her behavior seemed to indicate otherwise. Sima Yue looked at Bei Gong Ao's back and thought about what he had just said. She felt disgusted. He was on the same level as Bei Gong Air. Sure enough, what kind of person raised what kind of daughter? She entered the courtyard and found the Goshawk King. She had him pretend to send someone back and pretend that he was going to retrieve the Buddha lotus. The Goshawk King signaled someone with his eyes, And that person went out. He transformed into his true form and flew out of the city. When the Baegong clan saw the eagles leaving, they felt that they were definitely going to retrieve the Buddha lotus. They were even more convinced of Sima Yoyue's ability to concoct pills. After introducing Wu Lingyu and the Goshawk King, Sima Yue found a chair and sat down. She took out a spirit fruit and started munching on it. The Goshawk King looked at her unhurried expression and asked, "Did you really give the pill recipe to the Baegong clan?" Sima Yue nodded. "You're really willing. I didn't say that what I gave was real. You gave me a fake?" The Goshawk King looked at her in surprise. "We were there when you gave her the pill recipe. That soft skin doesn't look like something from today. It's obviously from ancient times. That kind of thing can be made." Sima Yue said, "However, the authenticity of the pill formula is almost 90% certain. Otherwise, how could it scare those old fellows? I only changed a little bit. The slightest difference can lead to a huge loss. They can only stare at that pill formula and fret forever." The Goshawk King looked at Sima Yue speechlessly. After a while, he said, "Everyone says that humans are cunning. It seems that they are right." "Wrong." Sima Yue shook the finger of the hand that was holding the spiritual fruit and said, "Not all humans are cunning. Some are cunning, some are simple, some are sometimes simple, and some are sometimes cunning." The Goshawk King shook his head. "Humans are truly complicated." "You're right." Sima Yue took a bite of the spirit fruit. Compared to the violence and simplicity of spirit beasts, humans are much more complicated. However, if you interact more with humans, you will find that humans are actually quite interesting. The Goshawk King shook his head. He did not listen to Sima Yoyue's words. Interacting with her was enough to show how cunning humans were. He already did not have any thoughts of interacting with humans. Once this matter was settled, he would bring his people back. Sima Yue saw the Goshawk King's expression and knew that he did not have such thoughts. However, she had only come here to seek help. Although he was willing to help her because of Little Rock, it was also a friendship. She could not force him. "That's right. After this matter is settled, don't go back first. Stay for a while," she said. The Goshawk King nodded. He had heard Sima Yoyue's analysis. This matter could possibly involve the 3 powers of Autumn Moon City. When the time came, if there was a battle, he would have to appear to protect them. At night, Sima Yue let Little Roar go to the prison again to confirm Yin Lan and Bei Gong Hang's situation. At the same time, she told them that Bei Gong Tang would come the next day to ask for them. She would bring them out and let them prepare. Alright, actually they did not need to prepare. They just needed to mentally prepare themselves. Little Roar left after passing the message, leaving behind the extremely excited mother and son. At this moment, in another large courtyard of the Bei Gong family, Bei Gong Air was currently discussing something with her parents. Gu Yun Air furrowed her brows as she looked at her daughter, saying, "Do you really want to be with him?" Bei Gong Air nodded her head with certainty. "Mother, think about it. He's someone from the central regions. If I can follow him, wouldn't I be able to go to the central regions with him? And you guys can also form a relationship with that side. Mother, this is a good opportunity. Furthermore, he's so elegant and has such an amiable personality. Wouldn't it be my dream to be able to be with someone like this? But, if you go so far away, it'll be hard for Mother to even see you." Gu Yun Air looked at her daughter with reluctance. Bei Gong Air's face was filled with dissatisfaction. "Mother, between being able to see me often and being able to go further, which do you think is more important?" "Mother, you can't delay your daughter's happiness just because you can't bear to part with her. Furthermore, don't you still have little brother after I leave? Isn't it the same if he stays by your side? If daughter wants to go, then let him go." Bei Gong Ao chimed in from the side, saying, "Daughter likes it. I think that Siyu is a good person and is worthy of our little heir. Furthermore, if we can form a relationship with the central regions, our Bei Gong family status will be even higher. Look, the Earth Palace and the Bei Gong family have long been connected. Why didn't they make a move against the Yin family? It's because they have connections with the powers in the central regions. If we can form a relationship with them, we can destroy the Yin family." Isn't this your mother's wish? That's right, mother. Look at how sensible father is. Bei Gong Er smiled when she heard Bei Gong Ao's words. Sigh, since both of you think this way, then do as you wish. Gu Yun Er said helplessly. Then father will go find Siyu tomorrow to sound him out and see if he has any intentions. Bei Gong Ao said. Thank you, father. Then I'll head back first. Bei Gong Er left happily. No matter if Siyu had any intentions or not, she wanted to become his woman. It was fine if he was willing. If he wasn't, she would create an opportunity for him to have no choice but to marry her. Young Mississippi, go find Grandma's son for me. Tell her that I need those pills. Ask her to prepare 2 sets for me. The next morning, Bei Gong Ao came to find Sima Yue and asked someone to invite her over for tea. Sima Yue didn't know what Bei Gong Ao wanted to do, so she followed the person who came over. Young Master Siyu, please have a seat. Bei Gong Ao waved his hand and invited Sima Yue to the seat opposite him. Sima Yue sat down unceremoniously and said, I wonder why young Master Bei Gong called me over? It's nothing much. My father and grandfather told me to be a good host. I also thought that young Master Siyu and I hit it off, so I wanted to invite you over for tea. Bei Gong Ao smiled and said, This is the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain Ginseng tea from the central regions. Young Master Siyu, try it. Young Master Bei Gong is too polite. Although the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain's ginseng tea isn't real ginseng, it's famous because it grows near ginseng. The entire Snow Mountain doesn't produce much in a year. I didn't think that I would be able to drink it here, she said as she took a sip, praising, good tea. When Bei Gong Tang heard her say that, she smiled even more happily. Most people would think that the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain's ginseng tea was brewed from ginseng. Only people from the central regions knew its true identity. Since she could say it so casually, it seemed like she really came from the central regions. Chapter 494. One of the reasons why he took out the ginseng tea from the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain was to verify if Sima Yue was from the inner regions. If she was, she should know the difference. New dagger, oddly new address. Young Lord Siyu looks very young, I wonder how old you are. Sima Yue lowered her head to drink her tea, her eyes flashing. What was this scumbag trying to do by asking her age? Could it be that he wanted to marry his daughter to her? Thinking back to when he said that the wine was prettier, she couldn't help but shiver. I'm 25. 25. Bei Gong Ao looked at Sima Yue. A 25-year-old who dared to travel so far, she would definitely be a big shot in the future. My daughter is 23 this year, so the age difference between the two of you isn't that big. Hee hee. She didn't want to reply and just laughed. I wonder if young Lord Siyu is married yet? Bei Gong Ao asked again. Sima Yue was extremely disgusted and muttered in her heart why Bei Gong Tang and the rest weren't here yet. I'm not married yet. Sima Yue said. My parents said that I'm still young and my temperament is not set yet. It's still too early to get married. Besides, we cultivators find it too early to get married at 100 years old. I don't want to let a woman control me so early. It's better to be alone and free. Bei Gong Ao wasn't an idiot and knew that Sima Yue was rejecting him. However, seeing that Bei Gong Er wasn't happy, he could only smile and say, the ancients said that to start a family first, then start a career. As a man, there's no such thing as sooner or later. I still have a few older brothers at home. They're not in a hurry, so I'm even less anxious. I still want to take advantage of my youth and travel around the continent. Sima Yue said. Bei Gong Ao didn't know what to say to Sima Yue. She had already made it so obvious, so he couldn't just stick to her. Looking at his daughter's expression, he sighed in his heart and continued to smile. Actually, I invited you to drink tea today because I have something to discuss with young Lord. Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. Could it be that something went wrong with the alchemy? No. Bei Gong Ao raised his head and said, it's like this. My daughter fell in love with young Master Siyu at first sight, so I shamelessly came to ask for your opinion. Sima Yue's eyes widened. He really wanted to propose marriage to her, How disgusting. Cough cough, I've heard that young Master Bei Gong has 2 daughters. One is called Bei Gong Tang, and the other is called Bei Gong Air. I wonder which little miss has taken a fancy to me. Bei Gong Ao was startled when he heard Bei Gong Tang's name. He immediately furrowed his brows. How did the other party know about Bei Gong Tang's matters? Without waiting for him to reply, Sima Yue continued, but no matter who it is, I don't want to get married. I've let you down. My daughter. Bei Gong Ao wanted to work hard for his daughter and praise how outstanding his daughter was. But before he could say anything, a guard hurriedly ran in and whispered a few words into his ear. What? Are you telling the truth? Bei Gong Ao looked at the guard in shock. Yes, they're already blocking the entrance. The clan head wants young master to go over quickly. The guard replied. Young master see you. Since young master Bei Gong has something to do, I'll head back first. Sima Yue stood up and said. All right, I'll get someone to send you back. Bei Gong Ao waved his hand and a servant girl walked over, leading Sima Yue away. Bei Gong Air, who was upstairs, heard Sima Yue's rejection and was furious. She thought of the medicine her servant girl brought back last night and said, I didn't want to use this method on you, but you forced me to. Young miss, it's bad, it's bad. Bei Gong Air's personal servant girl hurriedly ran upstairs and shouted frantically. Shut up, I know it's bad. Bei Gong Air shouted at the servant girl. The servant girl was stunned. Young miss knew what happened outside, but young miss had always been in the backyard. How could she know what happened outside? Bei Gong Air saw that the servant girl was stunned and not saying anything and shouted, What are you standing there for? Hurry up and pour me some water. Are you dead? Yes, 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 this servant will go immediately. The servant girl hurriedly went out to make tea. After a while, the servant girl brought in a cup of tea and placed it on the table, saying, Young miss, please have some tea. Bei Gong Air picked up the tea and used the lid of the cup to stir the tea leaves, saying, Father left in such a hurry. Did something happen? Doesn't young miss know? The servant girl said. I didn't even go out, how would I know? Bei Gong Air scolded. But when this servant came in just now, I said it was bad. Young miss said you knew it was bad. The servant girl said, feeling wronged. You still dare to quibble? Bei Gong Air stretched out a hand and grabbed the servant girl's arm, twisting it forcefully. Speak, what happened? It's Bei Gong Tang who came back. She said she wanted to take her mother and younger brother away. She's causing a ruckus outside the main gate. The servant girl said. Ping! Bei Gong Air threw the scalding hot teacup in her hand onto the servant girl. She stood up and shouted, Why didn't you say something so important earlier? Useless thing. After speaking, she hurriedly ran out. The servant girl did not have time to change her clothes and could only use her spiritual energy to dry her clothes before rushing out. It was a good thing that they were all cultivators, so this bit of scalding was not considered serious. Sima Yue followed the servant girl to the place where she lived. When she passed by the abandoned courtyard, she came behind the servant girl and took out a medicine bottle. The servant girl smelled a fragrance and did not have time to think before she collapsed. Sima Yue kept the servant girl into her spirit pagoda, then took out the mother-son stone and contacted Wu Lingyu. After that, she called out Little Roar and fused with him, entering the courtyard in a flash. Walking into the courtyard, Sima Yue recalled all the scarlet bees that were guarding the place. Then she entered the house and found the underground passageway, successfully entering it. The passageway was too dark. She released a wisp of flame and had it open a path in front of her, directly arriving at the side of the 2 prisons. Yin Lan and Bei Gong Hang had long heard the commotion. When they saw Sima Yue enter with a flame, they both stood up. Auntie, I'm here to save you guys. I'll attack the chains now. You guys stay back. Sima Yue said as she condensed her spiritual energy and attacked the chains. However, other than leaving a few marks on the chains, they did not break at all. This prison was made from 10,000-year-old black ice iron. Normal people would not be able to break it. Even I would not be able to do it. Yinlan said, How could I forget about this? If the chains cannot be broken, we will not be able to get out. It's okay, Sima Yue said as she took out a wisp of scarlet flame. She placed it under the chains to burn. In a short while, the chains melted. Clang. She removed the chains and opened the door, saying, "Auntie, come out first." After saying that, she went to burn Bei Gong Hang's chains. Yin Lan did not know what kind of flame Sima Yue was using. She was stunned for a moment before coming out of the door. After saving the two of them, she brought them out and ran towards the exit. Chapter 495. The three of them quickly arrived at the exit. Sima Yue was the first to dash out, then separated from Little Roar and retreated to the side. Little Roar ran to the exit and placed his claws on the enchantment. The enchantment turned into a blue halo. Burn carrot literature carrot library. Come, Auntie, you can come up now. Yin Lan knew that there was a barrier here. Previously, she was still thinking of a way to get out of the barrier, but she never thought that Little Roar's gentle touch would render the barrier useless. As they had been trapped underground, Sima Yue asked them to close their eyes when they came out. She took out 2 ribbons and covered their eyes. The northern palace is at the main entrance. Let's go out now, Sima Yue said. Although both of their eyes were closed, Yin Lan's divine senses were not weak. She held onto Bei Gong Hang's hand and followed Sima Yue without any hindrance. They walked out of the courtyard and saw Wu Lingyu, the Goshawk King, and the others waiting for them. There were a few Bei Gong clan members lying on the ground. Sima Yue smiled. Thank you. Let's go. It's a mess outside, Wu Lingyu said. The main entrance of the Bei Gong clan had been bustling with noise and excitement since half an hour ago. The people who were watching the show were talking about the scandal of the Bei Gong clan that they had just heard about. After Bei Gong Tang and the others had finished their preparations in the morning, she followed Sima Yue's instructions and went to look for the Bei Gong clan. The group of people arrived at the Bei Gong clan's door in a grandiose manner. Bei Gong Tang stood outside the main door and looked at the 2 big words Bei Gong. The number of times she had walked through this door could be counted on one hand. When she was 3 years old, her mother had brought her out twice when she was still Bei Gong Ao's wife. Ever since Gu Yun had married into the family, she had never stepped out of this place. When they escaped, they went to the back of the mountain. Home was a warm word, but this place had never given her any warmth. When the guard saw them standing in front of the gate, he asked coldly, "Who are you?" Bei Gong Tang kept her emotions and said to the guard, "I want to see Bei Gong Ao." "Who are you? Is young Master Ao's name something you can call?" The guard berated Bei Gong Tang. "It's not up to you to ask who I am. Hurry up and go report it. If there's no response in 10 minutes, I'll destroy your stone lions." Bei Gong Tang glanced at the stone lions on both sides of the door. "Arrogant people, you actually dare to behave atrociously in front of the Bei Gong clan. Come, capture them," one of the guards roared. The guards at the gate weren't very strong to begin with, they were only elementary god kings. In less than 2 minutes, they were all beaten to the ground. Hearing the commotion outside, a few more people ran out from the main door and confronted Bei Gong Tang and the others. What happened? A middle-aged man walked out of the door. Seeing that the guard had been beaten to the ground, he frowned and wanted to scold the other party. However, when he saw Bei Gong Tang, he was stunned. "Miss Tang." The person who came out was the steward of the Bei Gong clan, so he naturally recognized Bei Gong Tang. When she escaped, she was already over 10 years old. Her appearance had already been set. Now that she had grown up, she still looked the same as when she left that year. "Steward Wan, you came at the right time. I'll have to trouble you to inform Bei Gong Ao that I, Bei Gong Tang, have returned. I want to bring my mother and younger brother away." Bei Gong Tang said. "Miss Tang." The surrounding people who were watching the commotion originally thought that she was here to cause trouble, but now it didn't seem like it. Steward Wan instructed the person beside him, and that person quickly went in to report. He cupped his hands towards Bei Gong Tang, saying, "I didn't think that Miss Tang would still be alive. Since you've returned home, how could you be outside? Please follow this old servant in." Your father and the others have missed you very much these past few years. Bei Gong Tang laughed mockingly, saying, They have indeed missed me very much. However, I'm afraid that only you know what kind of feelings they have for me. Since I escaped that time, I never thought of stepping through this door again. Miss Tang, even broken bones are still connected. No matter what, you're still the Bei Gong clan's Mississippi. Although you've done so many bad things back then, the clan won't blame you. They're still willing to let you return. For you to cause trouble here, have you ever thought of the clan? Steward One said. Hee hee. Bei Gong Tang looked at Steward One. Steward One's mouth is still so eloquent. Your ability to turn black into white and red into green hasn't deteriorated at all. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. My purpose for coming today is to bring my mother and younger brother away. Miss Tang, I'm afraid that won't do. Your mother and younger brother have already died a few years ago. Steward One said sorrowfully. Before they died, they even told young Master Ao that if you came back one day, they would definitely treat you well. Now that you've returned, how could you not enter the clan? If she didn't know that Yin Lan and the others were still alive, Bei Gong Tang might have really believed his words when she saw his sorrowful expression. See, the people who were watching the commotion believed him. Miss Tang, could it be that the daughter of the Yin clan's miss who married Bei Gong Ao that year, Bei Gong Tang? Didn't I hear that she did something wrong and wasn't willing to accept the punishment, so she secretly ran away? Why did she come back today? Didn't you hear him say that he came to pick up his mother and younger brother? Sigh, it's a pity that they're already dead. What's the use of coming back now? If he had come back a few years earlier, he might have been able to meet them. Bei Gong Tang stood 10 meters away from the Bei Gong clan's main door. No matter what Steward One said, she refused to move or enter. This made Steward One very angry. He didn't think that Bei Gong Tang would actually come back after running away for so many years. She even came with such great fanfare to ask for people. He originally thought that it was just a girl. As long as he could trick her into entering the clan, wouldn't it be up to them to decide how to deal with her? Cripple her, kill her, or imprison her? The outside world would believe whatever they said. However, she refused to enter the clan, so his plan had to be put on hold. After a while, a few people from the Bei Gong clan walked out. They saw that the outside was filled with people who were pointing at the Bei Gong clan. The leader, Bei Gong Xiong, had an ugly expression. What are you standing at the door for? Come in and talk. Bei Gong Tang looked at Bei Gong Xiong. It had been so many years, but this great-grandfather of hers hadn't changed at all. He was still so snobbish and arrogant. With regards to what he said just now, she treated it as if his smelly fart had polluted the air. She didn't even give a single response. Bei Gong Tang, as the fourth-generation young miss of the clan, if you continue to be like this, be careful of the clan's rules. An elder berated. Haven't I been removed from the clan a long time ago? I'm no longer the young miss of your clan. You still want to use the clan's rules on me? Bei Gong Tang fearlessly faced them and said word by word, I've said it before. After I escaped from the Bei Gong clan, I never thought of stepping into the Bei Gong clan's main door again. I'm here today to pick up my mother and younger brother. You better hand them over. Otherwise, even if I have to risk my life, I'll make the Bei Gong clan lose a piece of flesh. Chapter 496. Bei Gongxiong's expression turned even uglier. In all these years, no one had dared to speak to him like that. Especially those juniors, each and every one of them was obedient and sensible in front of him. She was the first one to contradict and even threaten him like this. He had seen this girl before. Although she was very stubborn, she was not so strong. She had changed a little after escaping for so many years. However, he didn't like this at all. Steward One has already told you that your mother and brother died a few years ago. It's useless for you to keep harping on this. If you still want to be a member of the Bei Gong clan, then come in. Don't embarrass me outside. He reprimanded. The news of my mother's death was just an excuse that you used to fool my uncle a few years ago. Do you think that I would believe it? Bei Gong Tang looked at Bei Gong Xiong. Tell me, do you believe your own words? That's the truth. Facts? The truth is that you schemed against my mother and forced her to marry Baigong Ao in an attempt to obtain the Yin family's secret alchemy technique from her. It's a pity that my mother knew of your wild ambitions and never gave you the secret technique. That's why she was tortured, beaten, and forced by you for all these years. Baigong Tang sneered. After a few years, you realized that there was no way to get the secret technique from my mother, so you let Baigong Ao marry the daughter of the Earth Palace's palace master, Guyan Heir. From then on, the three of us, mother and children, had a difficult life. Beatings and scoldings were common occurrences, and injuries were common occurrences. Don't tell me that even the head of the Baigong family doesn't know about this. You evil girl, I'll destroy you. Baigong Ao rushed over and heard her words. He was so angry that he attacked her with a palm. Honor Rock quickly came to Baigong Tang's side. With a wave of his hand, that attack was scattered. Baigong Tang looked at Honor Rock gratefully. When Sima Yue left, she left Ninth Rock and Honor Rock behind to protect them. What? You don't want me to expose your family's scandal to the world? Is that why you're in such a hurry to silence me? She looked at Baigong Ao, who tried to kill her as soon as he came out, and laughed coldly. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. You watched as Guyan Heir and Baigong Heir tried to kill me all those years ago, and you tried to kill me as soon as we met today. This only proves one thing: you're worse than an animal. Wicked girl. How could I have given birth to such an evil daughter like you? Baigong Ao scolded. He was so angry that his face turned red. How did you give birth to it? I'm afraid I'll have to ask you how you schemed against my mother. Don't you know this the best? Baigong Tang said sarcastically. Seeing Baigong Ao's red face, she smiled brightly. Why, seeing how angry you are you regretting that you didn't get rid of me back then? Today, it's not too late for me to place righteousness before family. I'll just pretend that I never gave birth to such an evil girl. As he spoke, Baigong Ao wanted to kill Baigong Tang again. Honor Rock stood in front of Baigong Tang. Baigong Ao's hand movements immediately froze. The other party had immobilized him with just a glance. The four-winged rocks of the southern continent. Baigong Xiong looked at Ninth Rock and said, "This 1,000-year tortoise is a 10,000-year-old turtle. After living for so long, his knowledge and experience are indeed different. Isn't that right, Zichi?" Fatty Chu and the others had been watching quietly all this while and only spoke up at this moment. The surrounding people were amused by his words. Baigong Xiong looked at Honor Rock and said, "Your southern continent's hands have stretched too far. You actually came to the central region to show off. Our king said that he would fully support young Miss Baigong to come back and save her mother." Honor Rock said coldly, not putting the Baigong clan in his eyes. That contemptuous tone made the Baigong clan's faces turn ugly. Although the four-winged rocks were in the southern continent, they were very powerful. Most people were not willing to go against them. There was once someone in the northern seventh continent who offended them. In the end, they turned out in full force. The entire clan went to the northern seventh continent and turned the other party's family upside down. From then on, the four-winged rock's reputation spread. We've already said that her mother is already dead. If you want her now, we can't hand her over at all. Is that so? But I've received news that my younger sister and the others are still alive. However, they've been imprisoned in the underground prison for many years. A voice came from behind the crowd. Everyone opened up a path. Yin Hao brought a few people from behind the crowd and walked over. "Yin Hao, what are you doing here?" Baigong Ao glared at the person who walked over. "I heard that my niece came back to pick up my older sister. Naturally, I came to see if there's anything I can help with." Yin Hao said, "That year, I asked to see my younger sister, but you told me that she was already dead. Hearing my niece say this today, it seems that they were bullied by you a lot that year. Although the clan is very angry that my younger sister married Baigong Ao, she's still my Yin clan's young miss. Shouldn't you give me an explanation? Also, is my younger sister alive or dead?" "Uncle!" Baigong Tang shouted at Yin Hao. "Be good. The Yin clan's group of old farts have been muddle-headed for so many years. They're finally not muddle-headed today. Do whatever you want to do. Don't be afraid. Uncle will support you. Yin Hao patted Bei Gong Tang's head. Bei Gong Tang felt a strange feeling in her heart. It was different from the warmth she got from Yue and the others. It was a kind of kinship. It was another kind of kinship that she felt other than her mother and younger brother. Yin Hao, don't think that you can spout nonsense here just because you're from a power in the inner regions. My Bei Gong clan has never done anything to let down the mother and son. Someone from the Bei Gong clan shouted. That's right. You've brought people here. Do you want to declare war on our Bei Gong clan? An elder said, I'm afraid that if old man Yin finds out, he might even chase you out of the clan. Yin Hao took out a command tablet and said, I'm here representing the Yin clan. My words are the Yin clan's words. The old fart in the clan said that if I don't bring my younger sister back today, I'll just take this command tablet and kill myself. Uncle? Bei Gong Tang looked at Yin Hao in shock. This was different from what they had discussed. When I went back, I met the old fart and told him about this. Maybe he understood and found his conscience again. He asked me to bring you home. Bring you home. Bei Gong Tang chewed on these two words. It was clearly a very simple and warm word, but she had never felt it before. We've already said that they're dead. If you don't believe us, you can go in and search for them yourselves. Bei Gong Xiong said. You've hidden them so well. We won't be able to find them even if we go in. However, we've already sent people to rescue them. Once they're out, they'll have nothing to do with your Bei Gong clan. Bei Gong Tang said, from now on, we'll sever all ties with your Bei Gong clan. Chirp dash, as if to match her words, an eagle's cry came from the Bei Gong clan. Following that, an eagle flew towards the main door from the back of the mountain. Seeing the person sitting on it, Bei Gong Xiong and the others narrowed their eyes. Chapter 497. Seeing the person on the eagle, Bei Gong Air's expression changed again and again, while Bei Gong Tang's eyes were filled with tears. Burn carrot when carrot library. Come. Wonderful. Oriental. Literary. Ember high hand fight. Sima Yue and the rest came to the entrance and saw the tens of thousands of onlookers. She smiled and said, Bei Gong, we have brought your mother back. The Falcon King placed them on the ground, then transformed into his human form and stood behind the Falcon King. Mother! Bei Gong Tang threw herself into her mother's embrace. Although Yin Lan's face was still covered with gauze and they hadn't seen each other for so long, she still recognized her immediately. Yin Lan's divine sense had already reached the point where it could replace her eyes, but when she felt the real warmth of her daughter whom she had missed day and night, and heard the words, Mother, that she had not heard for a long time, she could not help but take off the gauze. She had not seen sunlight for a long time. Although she had adapted to it for a while, when she pulled off the gauze, she still felt that the strong light was too dazzling. She subconsciously squinted her eyes. Mother, you haven't seen Bai Guang in so many years. How can you remove the gauze? Bei Gong Tang picked up the gauze and was about to cover her. Mother is fine. I can still withstand this bit of light. Mother wants to see you. Yin Lan used her spiritual energy, allowing her eyes to slowly open. Seeing Bei Gong Tang who had already grown up, her eyes could not help but redden. She reached out a hand to touch her face, saying emotionally, Good, very good. Mother is finally alive to see you again. Bei Gong Tang stretched out her hand and placed it on the back of Yin Lan's hand. She rubbed her face against Yin Lan's palm and said, Mother, daughter is back. Elder sister. Bei Gong Hang's strength was much weaker, so he did not dare to take off the bandage on his face. However, his divine sense had grown quite a bit after being imprisoned for so many years, so he was able to see Bei Gong Tang's current situation. It was just that it was not as clear as what he could see with his eyes. Bei Gong Tang came out from Yin Lan's embrace and hugged Bei Gong Hang, saying, Younger brother, it's been hard on you. Back then, when little uncle came, he said that he could only take one person with him. She wanted Bei Gong Hang to leave, but in the end, Bei Gong Hang pushed her to little uncle's side. At that time, the situation was urgent. Her uncle grabbed her and ran away. I always believed that big sister would come back to save us. Bei Gong-hang smiled innocently. Yes, elder sister is back. If there's anything in the future, just leave it to big sister. Bei Gong-tang released Bei Gong-tang and patted his shoulder while crying and laughing. When Sima Yue heard Bei Gong-tang's words, a bitter taste spread in her mouth. She raised her face slightly, not allowing her emotions to spread. She also wanted to tell him that her sister was back and that he could leave everything to her in the future. When Yin Hao saw that Yin Lan and Bei Gong-hang were still alive, he was also very moved. However, when he saw Bei Gong-tang's emotional state, he could only restrain his emotions and say to the Bei Gong clan, "Didn't you say that my younger sister and nephew died? Then who was this person?" Family head Bei Gong, "My Yin family needs a reasonable explanation." When the commoners saw Yin Lan and Bei Gong-hang appear alive in front of everyone, they looked at them with mocking expressions. They had said that they were dead at least 4 times just now. They had been so confident before, but now, they had been slapped in the face. Everyone seemed to have heard the sound of slapping. At this point, the Bei Gong clan had nothing to say about this. If they had not seen Yin Lan and Bei Gong-hang, they would have said that they were dead. However, now that the dead people had appeared, it was useless no matter what they said. Bei Gong-xiong immediately turned his furious gaze to Sima Yue and asked sternly, "Young Master Sima Yue, what do you mean by this?" They had always treated her with respect and treated her as an important guest. However, she had done such a thing. It was obvious that her motive for entering the Bei Gong clan was not simple. Sima Yue smiled and replied, "Family head Bei Gong, I'm not called Siyu. I'm Sima Yue. I grew up with Bei Gong-tang." With such an explanation, what was there to not understand? The pill refining is fake. Bei Gong-xiong looked at her hatefully. "Otherwise, why would you let us in? If we didn't go in, how would we have saved the mother and son?" Sima Yue said faintly. This family's skin was really thick. Right now, they were not thinking about how to explain it to everyone, but were blaming her for saving them. "Goshawk King, your Goshawk clan has never interacted with others. Why are you willing to be the accomplice of such a despicable person?" The Goshawk King glanced at Bei Gong-xiong. "I'm following my king's orders." "Could it be the golden-winged rock that appeared in the southern continent?" An elder said. "How long does your Bei Gong clan intend to ignore my Yin clan?" Yin Hao's face was cold, emitting a bone-piercing chill. "A few years ago, I asked to see my younger sister and nephew. You said that they were dead. Now they are alive and well in front of me. Bei Gong-xiong, I respect you as the head of the clan. However, if you don't give a reasonable explanation, my Yin clan will definitely not let this matter rest." Yin Lan had already married into my Bei Gong clan 20 years ago. She is now a member of my Bei Gong clan. Do we still need to report to you outsiders how we deal with our own clan members? Bei Gong-xiong twisted logic, wanting to gain the initiative by striking first. My mother was only married to Bei Gong-ao because of your scheme. Furthermore, Bei Gong-ao and my mother no longer had any relationship as husband and wife. He was no longer a member of your Bei Gong clan. Bei Gong-tang said as she looked at Bei Gong-xiong. Did you hear that? My younger sister was no longer a member of your Bei Gong clan. However, your Bei Gong clan has always been torturing and imprisoning her. Today, you must give us an explanation. Otherwise, my Yin clan will not let you off. Brother. Yin Lan called out emotionally when she saw Yin Hao like this. Don't be afraid. That old fellow told me to bring you back. He won't ignore you anymore. Yin Hao said. Yin Lan did not have much hatred towards the Yin clan. After all, she was the one who insisted on marrying Bei Gong-ao. At that time, the people in the clan had said that if she married Bei Gong-ao, her life and death would have nothing to do with the Yin clan. She never thought that Yin Hao would represent the Yin clan to save her. Bei Gong, since we've already saved her, let's leave first. Sima Yue said. Okay. Their goal today was to bring her away. Initially, they were worried that they weren't strong enough. That was why they dragged the Yin clan along. It would be a little safer. Now that he had brought the entire Yin clan, it wouldn't be difficult for them to leave. Mother, let's leave first. We'll settle our debts with them in the future. Bei Gongtang said. As long as you come back, we can slowly talk about the past. Yin Lan held her daughter's hand and said. She wouldn't say that it was over. She definitely wouldn't say that she would write off the past debts. Those debts, she would slowly settle them in the future. A group of people came out from the Bei Gong clan and surrounded them, not allowing them to leave. Yin Lan is still a member of my Bei Gong clan. You can't take her away. Bei Gong Ao said. The Bei Gong clan had done too many bad things to them. If those things were to spread, how would the Bei Gong clan be able to establish themselves in Autumn Moon City? So, even if they had to fall out with the Goshawk King, they definitely couldn't let them leave. Chapter 498. Burn Literature Library. Calm, hearing Bei Gong Ao's words, Yin Lan could not hide the anger in her heart. She said, I'm no longer a member of your Bei Gong clan. Ever since you took Gu Yun, or for your own benefits, we no longer have any relationship. Ranwen Library, 7764, Ao and I love each other. Gu Yun Air said from the side. You, on the other hand, shamelessly destroyed our relationship and even plotted to marry Ao. Unfortunately, Ao isn't someone you can get with just a little scheming. Ha! Yin Lan laughed loudly, her face full of sarcasm as she said, Do you really think I'm still that fool from back then? Would they still believe that you, Bei Gong Ao, were a hero who saved the damsel in distress back then? Back then, you guys were the ones who set up the show. Those people who molested me were just hired by you guys. I was foolish back then and didn't see the truth clearly. That's why I wanted to marry you at all costs. Didn't you want the Yin clan's secret alchemy technique? Unfortunately, you've locked me up for so many years and made me refine pills thousands of times, but you still haven't learned it. Shut up. When Bei Gong Ao saw that Yin Lan had revealed all of this, he panicked and said to the guards surrounding them, Capture the three of them. The people of my Bei Gong family are not allowed to leave this place. Let's see who dares to move. Sima Yue stood beside Bei Gong Tang and the others, saying, I've seen shameless people before, but I've never seen anyone as shameless as the Bei Gong clan. Bei Gong, take your mother and leave first. Bei Gong Tang nodded. She supported Yin Lan and pulled Bei Gong Hang to leave. Stop them. As soon as Bei Gong Xiong spoke, a group of god emperors flew out from the courtyard and stopped Yin Lan and the others. Third brother, it seems like you can't do it. They don't even respect you, said a joking voice. Everybody looked towards the source of the voice and saw a sloppy young man with a group of people. There was no lack of godly emperors among them. Yin Hao saw his younger brother Yin Shi and said, Why are you here? Old Master said that although little sister was in the wrong, the family has forgiven her now that she has come back to life. The Bei Gong family always does some shameless things. They were afraid that you wouldn't be able to handle it, so they asked me to bring people to bring you back. Yin Shi's roguish words made the onlookers who were hiding far away laugh. Looks like your Yin clan is planning to shed all pretense of cordiality with my Bei Gong clan. Since that's the case, we're not afraid of starting a war with you. No one is allowed to leave. Bei Gong Xiong said. Bah, you old bastard. You're shameless to a whole new level. In the entire Autumn Moon City, only you, old bastard, can do this. Even the head of the family is like this. No wonder the whole family is like this. Yin Shi was much better at scolding people than Yin Hao. What, are you comparing numbers? Do you think your family is the only one with people? I don't see anyone in your house. Not a single person? Was he saying that the Bei Gong clan was inhumane? What are you waiting for? Bei Gong Xiong yelled at those people. Bei Gong clan's guards immediately fought with the people Yin Shi brought. For a moment, there were spiritual attacks everywhere. Although Yin Shi didn't bring many people, their strength wasn't low. They actually killed a lot of Bei Gong clan's guards. However, this was Bei Gong clan's territory after all. After killing a batch, another batch of people came up. However, the Yin clan didn't. Thus, they gradually fell into a disadvantage. Third brother, hold on. Big brother will bring people over soon. Inshi said. Sima Yue and the rest didn't make a move. Their strength was too low. They could only stand in the protective barrier and watch the situation outside. Ninth Rock wouldn't let these little dolls go out and take risks. Seeing the Yin clan's weakness, Sima Yue planned to let the Goshawk King make a move. Otherwise, the casualties would be too serious. Goshawk King, what's going on? A group of people ran over from the corner of the street. Seeing the two clans fighting, they shouted. The Earth Palace's people are here. The onlookers said. Sima Yue didn't care whether the Earth Palace belonged to the Earth Palace or not. She said to the Goshawk King, I'll still have to trouble you guys. The Goshawk King understood Sima Yue's meaning. He gave a look to the person beside him. That person immediately transformed into his original form and flew into the sky, chirping twice. Once they heard the chirping, the two clans stopped. Not good. Beigong Xiong's expression changed. Today's matter was probably out of their control. Chirp, a group of goshawks flew over from outside the city. They were majestic. Looking from below, it was as if half the sky was covered. Beigong Tang saw the group of goshawks and her face lit up. She looked at Sima Yue gratefully. The goshawks didn't land after they flew into the sky. Instead, they circled in the air. Goshawk King, do you really want to become enemies with the human race? Beigong Xiong purposely dragged the entire human race into this in an attempt to pressure him. There was a world of difference between becoming enemies with a clan and becoming enemies with the entire human race. I'm only in charge of protecting my king. The Goshawk King replied indifferently. Sima Yue called out Little Rock. The goshawks in the sky all chirped, paying their respects to Little Rock. Even the Goshawk King bowed to him. Little Rock waved his hand to get the Goshawk King to stand up. Then he looked at Beigong Xiong and said, Whoever dares to touch my contracted master will become enemies with the entire bird clan. If you don't believe me, you can try. Wu Lingyu saw Little Rock's domineering attitude and looked at Sima Yue. He raised his eyebrows in praise. Not bad, this little bird's training was not bad. Sima Yue saw his gaze and despised him in her heart. She said to Beigong Xiong, Patriarch Beigong, are you still going to block our way? Beigong Xiong's face turned the color of pig liver. He couldn't say a single word. Oh my, you should have said so earlier that you had such a strong support. I was so scared just now that I broke out in cold sweat. She pretended to wipe the non-existent cold sweat off his forehead. Since Patriarch Beigong isn't stopping us, we'll be leaving. Fatty Chu shouted, giving the Beigong clan a slap. Ninth Rock removed the barrier and everyone left the Beigong clan openly. Even though they were already quite far away, they could still feel the murderous gazes behind them. The Beigong clan's faces were ugly. Although they were unwilling, what could they say? They weren't allowed to leave? The goshawks in the sky directly attacked them. If it was just a few tens of them, it would have been fine. But there were hundreds and thousands of them. How could they be their opponents? The Goshawk King left with Little Rock. The goshawks in the sky followed them, personally sending them to the Yin clan in the north of the city. She watched as the goshawks gradually disappeared into the distance. He sighed, I never thought that I would have the experience of being protected by the Goshawk clan. Not bad, not bad. The Goshawk King personally sent them back. There was even a group of goshawks escorting them. The Yin clan's head even came out to welcome them. Seeing her once familiar family, Yin Lan subconsciously grabbed Bei Gong Tang's hand. Bei Gong Tang patted Yin Lan's hand, saying, Mother, the Yin clan has ignored us all these years. They already don't treat you as a family. Although we did our part today, if you don't want to go back, we don't have to. We'll find a chance to repay the favor today. Chapter 499. Burn Literature Library. Calm. Xiao Lan is a member of the Yin family. Now that she has left the Beigong family, how can she not return to the Yin family? A middle-aged woman wearing a dark red dress walked over and took Yin Lan's hand, saying, You're already at the door, how can you not go home? Auntie has already sent someone to clean up your old courtyard. You will still be living there in the future. Dancing Ruo first. Is this Cousin Tang? A girl walked over and smiled as she pulled Bei Gong Tang's hand, saying, I'm your cousin Fei Fei. Let's go, I'll bring you to see the courtyard where little aunt used to live. As she spoke, she pointed at Yin Shi. What a joke. Yin Lan and the others were treasures now. If they severed their relationship with the Yin family, then how would they be able to establish a relationship with the Goshawk clan in the future? Also, the contract master of the Rocks King was also their good friend. If it wasn't for them, this person definitely wouldn't care about the Yin clan. For the benefit of the family, Yin Lan cannot leave the family. How could Bei Gong Tang and the others not see through these people's thoughts? However, it was a good thing that there were people in the clan who were truly happy for the mother and children, so they didn't care about these things. The main thing was that Yin Lan was not calculative and was willing to come back, while Bei Gong Tang was merely following her mother's wishes. Sima Yue and the rest were welcomed into the residence as honored guests. They were also given individual courtyards to rest in. The treatment was quite good. Bei Gong Tang had not returned yet. After everyone rested for a while, Yu left the Yin family alone. She went to the inn last night, but received news that Shimin Feng had already paid the bill and left. She left the inn dejectedly and walked down the street in a daze. He had clearly recognized her, so why did he leave? He even left in the middle of the night. She was afraid that he would pay the bill and leave after she left. It was fine if he didn't want to acknowledge her, but why did he have to avoid her? Feng, don't tell me you're not going to recognize me for the rest of your life? She felt terrible and didn't know where to find him. Suddenly, someone grabbed his arm and pulled him to a stop. You're going to hit another tree if you keep walking. Wu Lingyu's voice came from behind. Sima Yue turned around and looked at Wu Lingyu. This time, his expression was no longer one of mockery. Instead, it was one of worry. Senior brother, why are you here? I saw you come out, so I followed you. Wu Lingyu said, who knew that you would be in a daze after coming out of the inn? You're going to bump into a tree again. Only then did Sima Yue realize that she was only a few centimeters away from the tree by the roadside. Thank you, senior brother. What's wrong with you? I didn't realize you were so muddle-headed before, Wu Lingyu said. Nothing. She shook her head, but in her mind, she recalled the scene of Shimin Feng strangling her neck last night. Only then did she remember that something was wrong last night. Shimin Feng's strength wasn't that high. Judging from his aura last night, he was at least a monarch rank or above. However, when he died, he had just reached divine ancestor rank. How could he have improved so much in 10 years? His strength was too strange. Moreover, that bone-chilling temperature was not normal for a person, which meant that his body was not normal. Damn it, why didn't I notice it last night? Sima Yue scolded herself. They had heard of many methods to forcefully increase one's strength, but those methods were often harmful to the body. Shimin Feng's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. If it was normal cultivation, it would be fine. However, if it wasn't, then it would be troublesome. However, with that cold temperature, she couldn't convince herself that it was normal cultivation. She had to find him. If something happened to him, she felt that she wouldn't be able to bear a second parting. Perhaps this was the reason why he had refused to acknowledge her. Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue's expression had changed from sadness and disappointment to anxiety, and asked, what's wrong? Go back and tell Bei Gong and the others that I have something to do and will be leaving for a while. If I don't come back, I'll see you at the auction. She was about to run away. Wait, I'll go with you, Wu Lingyu said as he grabbed her. All right then, you come with me. Sima Yue originally didn't want Wu Lingyu to know that she had obtained something, but she thought that Emo Sha already knew and he would know when they merged. Moreover, she wasn't very familiar with the outer regions, so it would be good to have someone by her side. As she walked, she took out the Mother-Son stone and contacted Sima Lai. When they found out that she was leaving, everyone was very surprised and wanted to go with her. You guys stay at the Yin residence. Sima Yue directly rejected them. Bei Gong has just returned to the clan and needs you guys to support her. If I don't go to the auction, then we'll meet at the Heavenly Sect. Senior will be with me, so you guys don't have to worry about me. That's all for now, I'm hanging up. After she finished speaking, she cut off the connection and walked to the inn. She went in with Wu Lingyu. The innkeeper saw that Sima Yue had just left and came back in. He didn't wait for her to ask and said, "Didn't I just tell you that the masked man had already checked out and left this morning before the sun rose?" Sima Yue directly placed a mid-ranked crystal on the counter. "We want to know, where will they go after leaving this place?" The innkeeper looked at the mid-ranked crystal and thought for a while. He shook his head and said, "I really don't know." The waiter just happened to pass by them and said, "I was also there in the morning. I heard the girl with him say that they were going to the neighboring U city." "Are you sure?" Sima Yue asked. At that time, the two of them had already paid the bill and were a bit far away, so I didn't hear it clearly. The waiter said, "Thank you." Sima Yue placed the mid-ranked crystal in the waiter's arms and turned to leave. The waiter saw that he had received a mid-ranked crystal and was a bit stunned. When he saw that Sima Yue was about to look for him, he said, "Oh right, I heard that they didn't use the teleportation portal and took flying beasts." Sima Yue was startled. That's right, Feng, or was also dizzy from teleportation portals like her. If the distance was not far, he would not take the teleportation portal. "In which direction is U City?" "Northwest. It's not far. If you take flying beasts, you will arrive in 10 days. The waiter said. "Thank you." Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu went out of the city and then chased along the northwest direction. Originally, they thought that Shimin Feng had left half a day earlier than them and should be able to catch up very quickly. The speed of eagles was one of the best among the rocks. However, they had chased for 7 to 8 days and didn't see him. It made her think that she had missed them. Finally, when they were about to reach U City, Sima Yue caught up with them. Moreover, it was because they had an argument with someone and were confronting the other party in the valley. Seeing that there were dozens of people on the other side and that the eagle was too big of a target, Sima Yue and Wu Lingyu came down from afar. Then, Wu Lingyu brought her to fly nearby and hid in the dark to observe. Chapter 500. I don't care who you are. Since you dared to attack the people of the Yinyang Palace, we will find you even if you run to the ends of the earth. Dozens of people surrounded Shimin Feng and Kong Sangyi. Each and every one of them had a murderous look on their face. Their strength was not low. It seemed like they knew that Shimin Feng was strong, so they sent so many people to kill them. Everyone from the Yinyang Palace should die, and so should you. Shimin Feng's hoarse voice was filled with endless hatred. Yinyang Palace? Sima Yue's heart skipped a beat. Then she was filled with hatred. Wu Lingyu saw her change and was a little curious. Did this girl have some grudge with the Yinyang Palace? How dare you try to kill us here? You've got guts. Kong Sangyi scolded the people of Yinyang Palace. Kong Seng, don't think that just because you're the young miss of ancient Kong Ming, we won't dare to do anything to you. Your Yinyang Palace is just a mediocre force. How dare you attack us? Although Kong Sangyi was young and had been pestering Shimin Feng, he was still very dignified in front of outsiders. It was you who killed our branch hall master first. We are only here to take revenge. That person said. He deserves to die. Shimin Feng said as he took out a long sword. You all deserve to die too. As he spoke, he directly attacked those people. Sima Yue looked on nervously, afraid that he would be hurt. But later, he saw that his strength was about the same as those people, but his fighting strength was stronger and his attacks were more ruthless. Moreover, his spiritual power and yin qi did not look like his previous martial arts. The doubts in his heart continued to deepen. What exactly had Feng experienced all these years? There were a few people who didn't move from their original positions. It seemed like they didn't intend to make a move earlier and were only here to boost their morale. However, when they saw that they were unable to deal with 2 people despite having so many people, they became anxious. 2 of them attacked together. Kong Sangyi's martial arts were a little strange. Although his strength wasn't high, he was able to hold back a lot of people. However, he couldn't free himself to help Shimin Feng. Sima Yue saw that 2 monarch rank people attacked. Shimin Feng's strength was limited, and he was unable to fight 10 people. In a short period of time, he was severely injured. Sima Yu saw that Shimin Feng was injured and became anxious. She got up and wanted to rush over. "What are you doing?" Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yu didn't care and pulled her back. Sima Yue said USSS. You are, Sima USS, Yue said. "But I can't just watch him get injured." Sima Yue shouted, "I've already lost him once. I can't lose him a second time." Wu Lingyu didn't understand what Sima Yue meant. However, he understood that she was nervous and anxious. He said helplessly, "Wait here." After speaking, he called out Fire Qilin and said, "You go." The Fire Qilin nodded and immediately attacked over there, saving Shimin Feng as soon as he arrived. Fire Qilin. It wasn't just the people from Yin Yang Palace. Even Shimin Feng was shocked by the sudden appearance of this person. "Fire Qilin, isn't this the contracted beast of His Highness Holy Sun?" Someone said. "Could it be that His Highness Holy Sun is here? I think His Highness Holy Sun is nearby and was attracted by the commotion." The people from Yin Yang Palace said, "But it doesn't matter. Our Yin Yang Palace is attached to the Sage Pavilion." Kong Sangyi took the opportunity when everyone stopped and ran to Shimin Feng's side. He supported him and asked anxiously, "Are you all right?" Shimin Feng pulled his hand away and looked at Fire Qilin cautiously. "I will try to stop them in a while. You look for an opportunity to leave." "How can I leave you here alone?" Kong Sangyi grabbed Shimin Feng's hand. "Since I came out with you, I will live and die with you. I will not leave." Sima Yue looked at Kong Sangyi from afar. She had heard of this person before and his reputation wasn't very good. However, when she saw him this time, she nodded her head satisfactorily. At the same time, she was secretly happy. Feng must have suffered in his heart all these years. If he had such a person by his side, it would be a ray of light in the darkness. "Fire Qilin, is His Highness Holy Sun here?" Fire Qilin glanced at them and said, "Yes, my master sent me here, to kill you all." After speaking, he started to attack the people from Yin Yang Palace. He understood his master's intentions. Once he attacked, these people had to be killed. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if news of this spread to the Sage Pavilion. Sima Yu was still unable to tell Fire Qilin's rank until now. However, she knew that his rank was definitely not low. Otherwise, Shimin Feng would not have been killed by him in just 2 or 3 moves just now. Fire Qilin Yu. When the people from Yin Yang Palace saw Fire Qilin attack, they were all shocked. They immediately reacted and scattered in all directions. Pang! Those who ran away were killed by Wu Lingyu. Even when they died, they didn't understand why Wu Lingyu would attack them. Sima Yue saw Wu Lingyu attack. This was the first time she saw him kill people. He didn't show any mercy and his movements were extremely graceful. It didn't look like he was killing people at all. Instead, it looked like he was doing something very elegant. And she didn't know what he used to hide his strength. No one could tell his rank. Kong Sangyi looked at Wu Lingyu in shock, saying, "Shimin Feng, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Is he helping us? Is he really the Holy Son of the Sage Pavilion?" Shimin Feng looked at Wu Lingyu, not knowing what he meant. "Why?" The last person to fall looked at Wu Lingyu unwillingly. Wu Lingyu descended from the sky and looked at Sima Yue, saying, "She wants you dead, so I naturally can't let you live. Who asked you to touch someone you shouldn't have?" That person wanted to look at Sima Yue. Who exactly was it that he was protecting, but he didn't see who she was until he took his last breath. Shimin Feng followed Wu Lingyu's line of sight. When he saw Sima Yue, his body shook and began to tremble. "Thank you, Holy Sun, for saving us today. I will definitely repay you for saving my life. Goodbye." He cupped his hands towards Wu Lingyu and turned to leave. Sima Yue saw that he was about to escape again and shouted, "Shimin Feng, if you leave again, don't call me sister in the future. I don't have a brother like you. I will go to the Yin-Yang Palace tomorrow and pay for my mistakes. But whether I live or die, I don't think you care. Shimin Feng stopped in his tracks and turned around, looking at her with a complicated expression. Sima Yue didn't say anything and just looked at him. After a long time, Shimin Feng called out weakly, "Sister, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."